with COVID-19. You can join it by our Zoom link, and video calls will be muted upon joining the meeting. Please use the raise your hand feature on the Zoom meeting if you want to ask to be spoke, if you want to speak. Participants and attendees are reminded that by joining the meeting that you consent to your likeness and audio being used and rebroadcast by the Littleton Community Television. Okay. Yes, that's it. All right, so we have 7:30. Oh, is Jerry on?
I haven't seen him yet. I'll reach out to him. You can go ahead and continue.
Okay. We have the staff performance objectives for FYI 21, fiscal year 21. This is the continuation of the discussion that Maureen, Anna, and Joe had. Is that what this is?
Correct. Yeah.
So do you want to pick up on it since I'm sort of in the dark on it?
Okay. So Mark and everyone, on July 9th, 4 out of 5 of the planning board members, so you weren't there, Mark, so that's why you don't really remember it. Yeah. We met to determine the goals for this fiscal year. They were then approved. I'm sorry, let me back up. We met on July 2nd and then they were approved on July 9th. So based on those goals, Maren and I worked on behalf of the board on July 10th and 17th with Maren, Nina, and Joe Layden on her performance objectives that would be brought forward to the planning board for approval. So the documents that Maren posted are the, she put performance objectives, Houston, and then performance objectives, Maren. So if you take a look at the objectives that say Houston on them, those are the ones that we discussed with Nina and Joe on July 9th. And I guess the big differences are, for example, we can go through those. I'm going to kind of quickly go through these. Under the performance objective number 1, one of the things that I think is pretty important for us as planning board members, especially as our agendas get so full and heavy, is providing board members with a summary and comments. Joe Layden had provided me with a copy of what he used to do when he was in Grafton, and I sent that on to you all. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it, but that's something that I would really request, and based on what Jerry had said at that meeting, is that that was something that had been provided back when he was on the planning board the first time around. So it'd be great to be able to get back to that. Then on performance objective number 2, as it relates to checklist procedures, I think that that's something that's also important to help us as planning board members, because it allows the applications to go through a rigorous check first before they even get to us as planning board members to make sure that they are complete. Point number 3 being that Maren would work toward being able to get additional resources into the department that would allow her to be able to get additional staffing members. And as I understand, that might be something that actually could be happening, as there's an idea floating around to be able to create additional revenue that would creating a larger land use department. So that could be something to look toward. Then item number 4, there are various initiatives there that are project-related projects, that are town-related projects. And one of the ones that I don't think I remember seeing was oh no, it's here. Never mind. TDR is on there. And then the 5th item, it's unfortunate that Jeff is in here, because when we all met on July 2nd, that was actually his idea. He talked about it as engagement and transparency. And so it would have been nice if he could have been here to provide a little bit more context around what he was thinking. So real quick, that's what we talked about. And Maren, did you want to talk through what some of your comments are on all of these?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Thank you for going through all that. I really appreciate it. I know you've obviously spent a lot of time on this, and I do appreciate your time on that. So when I did a quick markup of the performance of the same form, I tried to use my understanding of what I think we can really get accomplished over the next, 6-7 months now. Given the current application load, staying current with the applications is going to be difficult at best in the current work environment. If we do have the opportunity for additional staff, there's no way for that to happen before July 1 next year. Even July 1 next year is, well, I'm happy to work toward it, and we can see what happens for next year. We have several ongoing initiatives between the station area work and transfer of development rights. We were able to get, so our plates are very full. My plate is very full for the rest of this fiscal year. We can also count that I have been supporting the Affordable Housing Trust and now the Station Area Committee. It's keeping me very busy. I enjoy a lot of the work, a lot of the being able to do a lot of the work with the different groups. It's just, it will be difficult to keep up this pace throughout the fiscal year, given the current working conditions. So adding something like engagement and transparency, that used to be assistant town administrators in their job description to do outreach, and now to try to have me do that. I'm concerned with adding that effort. And
Yep.
so see, this week we didn't have draft decisions ready on a couple of these items, and then to also think about doing staff reports for each of those, it's a little daunting.
Yeah. Well, it will certainly be nice when we can have them. If you have any specific recommendations, please put them forward. What I would say is, you never know what could happen, and if we leave them in here, Mark and I doing your performance evaluation for the end of the year, we could say very clearly, as I did in the last year, if you didn't have the resources available to do it, then that shouldn't be a personal ding on you. I think it's important to keep them there, though, to acknowledge that that's work that needs to be done, and it's also good for others outside of the planning department and planning board to see what all the work is that needs to be done, if that makes sense. So what I would agree with you that on number 5, the engagement and transparency, because all the work related to the subdivisions needs to be done, that perhaps a subdivision commentary actually become part of objective number 5, which is subdivisions residential development.
Yeah. Okay, I guess on a personal level, since this is part of my performance review for next year, I'm used to making a list outside of this document for budget purposes that said these are the things that the planning board would like to be able to do had we staff available to do it. It's up to you. It's up to the board whether to put it in or out. Understanding and understanding what you said about not using it as a negative if we don't have the resources to get the work done.
Yeah.
So thank you. Yep.
Okay. So at least we have a roadmap.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much of it we'll get to, but right. Do we know if Jerry's on? I don't see him.
No, he's not joined.
Did you reach out to him to see if he's available?
I texted him 8 minutes ago and have not heard back.
Oh, okay. All right, well, we'll continue. We have an 8:40, if there's any, but,
So
Well-
Anna, did you
oh,
want
yeah.
closure on that?
I think we do need to bring closure to it and even vote as to whether or not we want to. So I guess I would say, if there is there any discussion on what Maren and I just talked about?
No. I think it's a great wish list. Like I said, I echo what Maren has to say. There's so much on our plates right now. I don't know how much of it we'll get to, but it's nice to have a roadmap. So,
Okay.
okay.
So,
Do you want us to vote on it
yeah, so I would move that we use the draft performance objectives created with Joe Layden and Nina, leave them as is, removing the item number 5, engagement and transparency, and putting in the subdivision residential development language that's also attached to that. And that if there is any, and if there is not a resource available for Maren to complete some of these, that's not a personal ding on her at the end of the fiscal year.
Okay. Someone want to second that? All of that? I'll second.
I'll
it, I
second.
guess.
Okay.
Okay. All those in favor of adopting this outline, this review of goals and objectives for 2021, please signify by saying aye. Delisa?
Aye. Yes.
Anna?
Yes.
Mark, yes. Okay.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Jerry said that he's 10 to 15 minutes late to the meeting, so he'll
Okay.
join us shortly.
okay, so we'll continue. We have 6:40. If there's any public input, does anybody get their hands up?
I don't see any hands raised at the moment.
Madam School Teacher, no one's there. All right, so we're a couple of minutes early for our continued public hearing for 22 King Street. So we need to schedule, so while we have 2 seconds, we need to schedule another meeting for the 12th, right?
For whenever everybody's available. Jeff said if he's feeling better, he could do the 12th.
Okay, because we're gonna have to postpone Hager and who else? I think that's about it, right? Well, if Jerry's, yeah, probably Jerry's on. Oh, and what are we gonna do? We can't open, well, no, we can open, yes, if Jerry's here, we can
Right.
open,
Mhm.
the latest stuff, yes. Okay, and we can continue with Amazon because we can do the Mullen, the
Yeah.
Ed Mullen thing.
Mhm.
All right,
Yeah,
Do we wanna wait
Jeff
for
noted
Jeff?
he's prepared to review the video of everything that goes on tonight. But
do we want to go to 6:45? We don't want to, it's continued public hearing on, the site plan review for, 22 King Street.
Well, do we have input from Anna and Delisa whether they would be available for another meeting on Thursday, the 12th?
What's the purpose of that meeting? I'm sorry.
To vote on the Hager Homestead and hopefully to vote on 22 King Street.
Why can't we go 22? Oh, Anna has to step off on that. Anna has to step off on both of them, so her on the 12th doesn't do us any good anyway, right?
No, I just have to step off on 22 King. Why would I step off on Hager?
Because you didn't vote it. You didn't vote in favor of it. Although, you know what? Yeah, no, you can still vote it, even though you didn't vote in favor of it.
I didn't know if that was a policy or not, so.
It's not really. No, you can. You were at all the meetings. You could. Yeah, no, you can. You can stay on it.
Okay. All right.
We did
So-
that for. Yeah, we've done it before.
Yeah. So Maren, to answer your question, I am available on the 12th.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
since I am recusing myself from 22 King Street, which you're about to start once Jerry arrives, I'll just
LCTV, Dave can put you into the waiting room.
That
Or you
sounds
can-
great.
Or you can leave and rejoin. Is there a time that's better for you on the 12th?
No, I mean, my evening's open, so.
Thank you.
Delisa, can you do the 12th? That was a yes. That
Yes,
was a-
I can.
yes,
Great.
okay. Yeah, if
And-
you want to do it 6:30, 7 o'clock on the 12th, it's going to be very quick, so it doesn't matter to me.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, Jerry's here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Jerry, jumped in the middle of a scheduling discussion. Would you be available for a short meeting on next Thursday on the 12th? It would be to review the final decision for Hager Homestead and for 22 King Street, if everything goes according to plans.
For tonight. When would you start?
That's up to you guys. Mark was thinking 6:30 or 7, but
I
whatever
prefer
works.
as early as possible. Just so then we can get on with our evenings, you know?
Yeah. Try it.
Try
Is
for
there-
6:30.
To try it, yeah. I mean, it's no guarantees for me.
Okay, thank you.
So why don't we just shoot for 6:30? Hopefully by that time Jeff's better as well.
Yeah. We'll know shortly beforehand.
Well,
Jeff,
just so you know,
No, Jeff.
he does not have COVID. He was tested. He does not have COVID, okay?
Yep.
You got something else?
He's-
He doesn't know. He knows it's not COVID or Lyme disease. So,
Oh, so that's terrible. Okay.
Okay, so we can start up with 6:45, continue public hearing for 22 King Street, Aquifer District Special Permit Application and Site Plan Review, added parking lot and site improvements. Do we have somebody here for that, Mara?
Yep.
Yeah, we do.
Good evening, this is Larry Green from McCarty Engineering.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay, so since we last met, we submitted revised plans, tabulations, and drainage calculations to Green International to address their peer review comment letter. And so we had a conference call yesterday to address the items, and we have addressed all the technical questions. So there's just a handful of conditions and then 2 discussion items with the board remaining to some of the site elements. Now, if you want to, it's easier to go through the spreadsheet, or I don't know what's best for you guys.
Who's showing? You gonna show something?
I'm actually having problems with sharing my screen. So, Baron, is it possible? Can you share the last spreadsheet? I apologize.
Yeah. And
I
that
can
one
do,
came in from Michael?
yep, I can do that for you, Marin. All
Okay, great.
right.
So this is the items in question. I guess we'll call them all the pink items. Basically, item 20 and 28, 28A pertain to those questions on the table being non-conforming. There is a shed in the kind of upper right rear corner that is within the side yard setback.
Mhm.
You know, it's not pertaining to this parking lot project, the septic construction. So the question with the board is, can that shed stay, or would the board like that shed moved?
If I could offer, the standard response is that any zoning enforcement would be left to
Building
zoning
inspector?
building department, to the
Okay.
building inspector. I don't, unless the planning board's really excited about weighing in on it, I don't have any
No,
recommendations.
no, move on. I say move on. That's
Yeah, I'm not a big proponent of moving the shed.
yeah, that's okay.
Item 31 pertains to, there was a question on the drainage calculations on which rainfall data to use. And the question was, I guess in your subdivision regulations, you reference a new rainfall data. It's high. It has higher rainfall events.
Right.
They don't. Your bylaw, your regulations don't reference this new data. We're not within a resource area, so we prefer to use the current rain events that we have.
Yeah.
And so the event would be, if we went to this new rainfall event, we'd be upsizing the detention system, like 10-20%.
Yeah, I think as he mentioned, the calculations do meet our current regulations. This is just kind of a flag that we should probably update our stormwater regulations so that we reference our site plan regulations. So we reference the new rainfall data.
Wouldn't Green be doing those? Wouldn't Green be doing those updates, Byron?
According to this, Green's asking for the update. It's not in our bylaw yet for them to have to use it, so. We go with the old regulations.
You're going to rewrite those calcs. I mean, that's going to be something we'd source to Green anyways, right?
So to somebody outside, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that doesn't bother me. I mean, you're not really in a sensitive area, right? You're not in a floodplain.
No.
No, and it's gravel under this site, so.
Yeah, it's all bank run. Yeah, I don't have a problem with it.
Okay. All right. Last but not least.
Next page gets to zoom in here. I think there's a couple of items on the next page. What there?
I'm sorry, what's that, Larry?
Is it in there another item on the other page, or is that it?
It says 1 of 1. Is there?
Yep.
There's a second.
The only other item was the seasonal groundwater.
Oh, that's right. That the bylaws state that soil testing is supposed to be in within a certain months, and we did our soil testing. Soil testing is supposed to be done between November and April. We did soil testing outside of those months. We did 5 test holes, a couple for stormwater, and then 3 for the septic system design. And we all found that there's no evidence of groundwater. It's basically stratified sand. So we're deferring the board that we can use the soil information that we did back in June.
Again, it's not a sensitive area. I mean, it's all bank run gravel. You can test it whatever you want. It's going to come dry.
Judging by what's up the street, you probably have $1 million worth of gravel under you anyway.
Yeah, I have no concerns with
I don't think I'm fine. Delisa, do you have any? Why are you muted?
Oh, I just mute myself in case my dogs bark.
Yeah.
I heard him.
Yeah, no, so I don't have any problems with it.
Okay.
Good.
Do you have any other outstanding issues for this?
No.
So we don't have a draft decision prepared, and given that Mr. Yates is not available for tonight's meeting and Anna has recused herself, I recommend, it sounds to me like you can close the public hearing and
Vote the conditions on the 12th.
correct.
Is that what you're going to do at the 12th? Just have all the decisions lined up and run through them?
Yeah.
That seems pretty rational, yeah.
Okay, so why don't we, I'll make a motion that we close the hearing.
A second.
Take no more input and draft a decision and continue it till the 12th.
So and I'm presuming that everybody's positive attitude means I'm drafting an approval.
I would say so. I don't think I need to
pending the final vote, but
right.
okay. Thank you. I will do that.
Okay.
So we need to vote in favor of that?
Yes.
Closing the hearing, yes.
Jerry, are you in favor?
Yes.
Delisa?
Yes.
And I am in favor. Okay. We'll see you guys on the 12th.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Very good.
Somewhere around 6:30.
All right.
We'll let you know. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Good night.
Okay, we have a couple of minutes before our 7 o'clock continued public hearing. Do we have any,
Anna's rejoined the meeting.
what?
So Anna has rejoined the meeting.
Okay. Do you have any, well, you might as well take care of a board business or two thing. Any board member updates?
I think we're gonna meet with agricultural committee on the 17th. Is that right?
Yeah, I haven't sent that final request out yet. I'm afraid to have another meeting, but
For transfer of development rights.
yes.
Okay.
I think so we'll have that conversation, and then do we need to meet with anybody else, or do we need to go? Is the Board of Selectmen going to be there too?
I would recommend that we also bring it to the Board of Selectmen meeting sometime in the future.
Yeah, so we got to schedule that one too. So
Yeah.
like go and give them like a 10-15 minute update.
Mhm.
And, just get ready for. We're still targeting May, right?
Yes.
So, Delisa and I met on the train station. We have a consultant on board and we're making good progress. So we're moving forward on that, still trying to get that ready for May town meeting. Anna and I went to the selectmen's meeting. Was it last Monday night, Anna?
Yeah.
A week ago Monday? Yeah. So we spoke about the remaining funds that we have in planning board's purview. And we made it clear that we'd like to keep it in the planning board's control, because you never know when we're going to need to either get some more funds for the train station or some other projects that we have coming down. So we'd like to still be in control of the 22,000 in the various buckets, as we call them, that are still in planning board control. So
that's our surplus?
that's from all the grants that we've got, the remaining balance, the master plan stuff,
Oh, that's not operating funds.
No. This is all the grant money. We have like 22,000 in
Right.
leftover funds for those things. So we'd like to keep them in case we need them for the consultants for the.
Right.
It's in the MPIC bucket.
Yeah, MPIX is in there too.
MPEC. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, what else? What else do we have? That's it.
Well, I wanted to raise a question for our December meeting, and that is that if we ever want to be able to update the senior residential bylaw and or the inclusionary language, which was something that was debated early on in Hager Homestead, that we should go ahead and begin that process in December. And Mark said that in the past, these meetings that we have been used to be able to actually walk through that language. And so if that's something that others are willing to do, I'm happy to head that up and trying to get that language revision to everybody and then work toward having it on Springtown meeting.
That's the inclusionary language that addresses 55 and older? Is that right?
Yeah, right. It's the one specifically that addresses the how
Affordability.
I'm sorry, what, Mark?
It addresses the affordability, the percent affordable.
Well, not so much the percent affordable, but it could be that. I was thinking more that it was the definition of the independent living units. Remember how we had that back and forth at the beginning with Hager? So that's something.
Yeah, that's definitely ambiguous. No, the inclusionary bylaw has to do with the percentage of the units in a subdivision that have to be affordable.
Affordable.
That's the part of the inclusionary bylaw.
Yeah, wasn't there something that state came out with for 55 and olders? They have to be written in a certain way. They can't be
Well, yeah,
discriminatory. Did we address that already?
Yeah, we've gotten used to working with that. So now we're able to follow DHCD guidelines. I think that Anna's concern rightly goes back to the question that the applicant had at the beginning of Hager Homestead, is how to interpret the bylaws, given that depending on how you read them, it could be a discrepancy. If we could just clean that up. And I think that Chris likely has a good suggestion, a quick suggestion for us on how to do that.
Yeah, that sounds good.
So we'll bring it in on the 10th on December, and we'll get it ready for a Springtown meeting.
Okay.
But are we leaving the ratios the same though? You're just talking about clarifying the pros of the bylaw, not
Right. I mean,
numbers.
I would say that if we want to have that discussion, we could have it then as well.
Yeah, that seems like, yeah, we should talk about the whole thing. Well, maybe we should run through it.
Yeah, well, we have it in front of us, yes.
Okay. So we
Okay.
should plan to have that as an agenda item for December then.
Yeah, but how much, I mean, that sounds like at least a 15-20 minute conversation, right?
Yeah, and we have at least 3 new applications already here for the December meeting.
Well, can we have
So,
should we have like an administrative meeting then?
Do you want to
A
discuss
meeting
that?
where we're basically just doing business, like board business, not applicant business.
Why don't we
If
take it
things like
on the
this,
12th?
Huh?
Well, November 12th. If we're all going to meet November 12th, why don't we discuss it then? Why don't we take an extra 15 minutes and
Yeah,
discuss
let's do
it?
that. Yeah,
Does that work?
just so we all, because we want to have focused time, right? You want to be able to talk, so
Right.
maybe stick it at the end so we can.
That sounds
Is
good.
that good?
Do it on the 12th.
Okay, Delisa, you good with that? So why don't we put it on for the 12th after we're done with the
Yeah,
regular board business? See, I'm so smart.
that works.
wicked smart, Mark.
Wicked. All right, we have a 7 o'clock continued public hearing, 151, 153 Taylor Street, major commercial industrial use special permit, water resource district special permit, and site plan for Amazon's last mile warehouse operation. I'm sure we have maybe 1 or 2 people from Amazon somewhere.
Sure. My name is Larry Beals, and I'm with Beals Associates. And if it's okay with you, we'll start the presentation.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. I guess what I'd like to do is share my screen, if I may.
Yes, go right ahead.
Okay, so I'm hoping everybody can see a picture of the building.
Might want to make your screen a little bit bigger.
I've got the full screen up right now. I think perhaps maybe you need to enlarge your screen.
I'm full size. It's okay. Keep going.
Do other people have full size?
I'm fine.
And just
Okay.
be my ratio. Go ahead. Keep going.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Larry Beals, and to start off, I'd like to introduce the people here to speak tonight. I will make some introductions. I will talk about some of the technical issues of the project. But representing the owners tonight is Greg Losey, who is the managing partner of Northbridge. And anything that comes up relative to the ownership of the property, he will be able to address. The tenant in the building is Amazon, and Jessica Schumer is here to speak to any operational issues that their tenancy may have of interest to the town. And then we've got, from my firm, we've got a design team here, Todd Morey. So between Todd and me, hopefully we can answer all of your technical questions. So to start off with the first slide, I'd like to turn it over to Greg, who will go through a couple of points. Then I'll take it back, go through a few more slides, and then I'll hand it over to Jessica from Amazon so that she can talk about the operation of the facility.
And Larry, I just also want to introduce Brad Griggs, a senior manager on our team who's also here this evening.
Good, thank you.
Great, thanks, Larry. My name is Greg Losey. I'm a managing partner and co-founder of Northbridge. Thought it might make sense, because I haven't been on in the past, to just give a little bit of a background about Northbridge and hit on a few points. Mainly, thank you for everyone for the time that's been spent on this project and for the opportunity tonight. Northbridge, founded by myself and my co-partner, Dean Atkins, about 6 years ago. We're local. We're based in Wakefield, Massachusetts. We're focused on industrial and warehouse properties. We do invest ourselves in these projects, but the vast majority of our investors on behalf of teachers, firefighters, police, corporate pension funds, And, we take our responsibility that goes beyond financial returns, and, we take great pride in trying to make a positive impact on the communities where we develop. I'm going to let Larry and the team do most of the talking and the Amazon folks on this project. But, I did want to state, while Amazon is a proposed tenant here, I want to be clear that Northbridge is the owner, and our investors, we're the owners of the asset. And, if this plan is approved with Amazon as a tenant, obviously they are responsible on things on the site, but we're the landlords and we're ultimately accountable. And I just wanted to be clear that, Northbridge, we stand behind our projects. We're a local developer. This dates back a little bit to when we identified 151 Taylor back in 2019. We identified it because it was an industrial zone, really good location for warehouse. And the previous owner obviously had gotten the special permit to demolish the vacant building and build a warehouse to support the growing e-commerce industry. We started that construction project without a tenant, as you know, based on the fact that, we were confident we could find one. And again, I'm telling you some of the things that you already know about this, but, during the construction process, we began speaking with Amazon. The proposed site, as everyone knows, has changed and includes 151 Taylor, which is necessary to accommodate their use. But I guess the punchline of what I'm here to say tonight is that we know there's some concerns about the site plan. We've done our best to try and solve those, and we want to present some of that tonight. We do feel that this use really does match well with that initial goal of supporting the growth in e-commerce. We've heard the concerns. We value the input here. We do want to be a partner. We've already got a building constructed and tens of millions of dollars invested. So we're fully committed to this, and we are going to try and offer solutions and try and be flexible wherever we can to try and make this successful. And we'll try and back that up with solutions on your concerns. So I'll turn it back to Larry, but just want to say thank you for the opportunity tonight.
Thanks, Greg. I think one of the reasons I was selected to make most of this presentation tonight is I perhaps have a fairly unique perspective in that many years ago, just after I'd gotten out of college, I was working on projects with Digital Equipment Corporation. And I worked on this site when Digital acquired it and originally developed the first two buildings. So not only do I have a good knowledge of the site, but I also have somewhat of a historic perspective. It pains me to say that the existing project is out of date because I think that makes a statement about myself as well. But I will at least try to give you my perspective. So we gave this project very careful consideration, and the slide that we have up in front of you right now are some of those components. And I won't read them to you because we've already sent them in. I believe they're posted on the town's website. But one of the reasons we like the site is the use is consistent with the zoning district that it's in. And this site is an older development that needs to be upgraded. I think one of the pluses that the board has helped us understand is that it's near public transportation, in particular the rail system. These buildings, as you probably know, have been empty for years, which indicate that the market has changed. Every time I've driven by them, there have been 4 lease signs on them, and they have sat empty. Obviously, the redevelopment of this site means new development is new jobs and increases in the tax base. And of particular importance and a real asset to this site is the fact that it's right next to Interstate 495 and Route 2. Earlier this week, we had conversations with Crosstown Connect, and I was not at that meeting, but my understanding is the meeting went very well, and Northbridge is viewing Crosstown Connect as a partnership in this project as well. The other benefit too is there are no residential neighbors in close proximity to the site. The nearest homes are on the other side of 495 or on the other side of Route 2, so it doesn't have any impact on the residences of the town of Littleton. We looked back at planning board decisions when we were doing the due diligence, and we highlighted one of the things that we thought was very supportive of this proposed development in that there was a decision that approved a prior permit on the site. And we highlighted that it was to support the growing e-commerce industry. So the use that we're proposing tonight is e-commerce industry. We're going through a lot of different approvals and permits. We've been before you on 151. We've been before the Conservation Commission. This is a project that does support the growing e-commerce industry. And as I said earlier, we will need a special permit for a major industrial use at 151 Taylor Street. And I think those are the things that we're going to discuss tonight. I know that you have an outline of your decision criteria in your zoning bylaw, and we're prepared to address those issues. But we're seeking a special permit. And I think we also want to understand the board's perspective. I thought we had a really good meeting earlier in the week with the Conservation Commission, because in the course of that meeting, the commission raised some issues, we made some suggestions, and we came out of that meeting with what we believe is a better plan. The Conservation Commission, I believe, liked the project because we've increased the open space. There's a concern about salting the driveways and the parking areas because we're in the Beaver Brook Valley. We're in an aquifer area. Our site is underlain by permeable sand and gravel. So there is a section of roadway that crosses between two wetlands. And what Northbridge committed to do with the Conservation Commission, and this is relevant to the planning board, is to put a glycol system and to heat that section of roadway. It's steep, it's directly adjacent to wetlands. And if we can eliminate the use of salt on that section of roadway by heating the pavement, then we can mitigate the impacts on the wetlands. We also agreed to put in monitoring wells to monitor the groundwater quality. And each year we're going to keep track of the amount of salt that is used on the site. And we're going to cooperate with the Water Department and the Conservation Commission to see if there's any correlation between water quality and salt use on the property. Lastly, one thing that we observed when we were mapping the wetlands is that a lot of trash had blown off of the parking areas and into the wetlands. So we have included in our plan set a detail that shows a guide rail around the exterior of the parking lot with a chain link trash screen between the top of the guide rail and the ground surface. If you've ever seen trash blow across a parking lot, it stays a few feet off the ground. So this is an effective way of catching that trash. And Northbridge committed to a monitoring program to police the area and pick up trash and prevent it from going into the wetlands. That is an overview of the project. We went into a lot of the technical details last time. I'm going to switch to this slide, site operations, and both Brad Griggs and Jessica Schumer are here from Amazon to address the operation of the facility.
Thanks, Larry. This is Brad Griggs, Senior Manager from Amazon's Economic Development Group. I know we went through the operations of the site during the prior meeting, so I'll just do a quick recap of that process. Essentially, our 18-wheeler tractor trailers come in during the overnight period to the red area at the bottom right of the site. Our Amazon associates and management also arrives during the evening period. Those are parking spaces there demarcated in yellow. They unload the tractor trailers inside of the building. They separate the packages into our delivery routes and stage them for the morning delivery route loading process. So we have a green area there and a purple area. Those demarcate the loading and staging areas for our Amazon branded vans. The vans themselves are parked on site there in blue. They will be parked there during the overnight period. About 9:45 or so in the morning, the first round of van drivers come on site. They park their personal vehicles in the blue area. There will be a buffer for them. They'll get in the vans, drive into the green loading zone, and begin loading their vans alongside of an Amazon associate, at which point the second wave of van drivers arrives in their personal vehicles. They're now parking in the newly vacated spots by the first wave of van drivers. They drive in and park in the purple area, and that process repeats itself through the morning period. The green drivers take about 20 to 30 minutes to load their vans. They then exit the loading area out of the building and head out on their 10-hour delivery routes. The purple vans drive in, park in the green loading zone, and the next wave arrive in their personal vehicles, and the process continues along that path every 20 to 30 minutes. And from there, we head out through the remainder of the morning into early afternoon to allow for that 10-hour delivery process to be completed. We get approximately, on average throughout the year, about 4 to 6 of those cycles through the day. So we anticipate the vans concluding at approximately 12 or 1 p.m. each day, the bulk of the year. That is to allow for our more operationally efficient cycle. We've learned from some of our legacy locations and tried to adopt new methodology inside of the building to operate on a more efficient sorting and staging cycle inside of our buildings. The newer models, like the one we're proposing here, would allow for that timing to be along the lines that I said. Some of our legacy sites begin sending vans out much earlier in the morning. Many of our legacy sites also utilize off-site parking. As you can see here, we were because of the parking there on the left-hand side of the plan, we're able to keep our vans on site. They don't have to come from an auxiliary location to this site. So they'll be able to come from one side of the location through, load the vehicles, and head out without having to crisscross the area from an off-site lot. Additionally, with the more efficient operational cycle that our new facilities allow for, those vans are departing post the rush hour peak times. That is also an issue with some of our legacy sites. Those sites begin sending vans out, as I said, about 6:30 in the morning, and they don't conclude until roughly the same time that this site would, at about 12 or 1 o'clock. Additionally, by starting later in the morning... Oh, go ahead.
Let's jump in real quick. Can you just help me see this visually? If you could just lay out your schedule, how many trucks are in each, I don't know, what do you want to call them, cohort, or how you stage them out? So, like, what's the flow in and out? Is it, you got 50 trucks every 20 minutes?
So these are
return at what time? Like, if we could see it visually in a timeline, what the volume is and the frequency, that would be a little bit easier.
Sure.
Yeah.
So the vans themselves are the commercial vans. So like Mercedes Sprinter or
I got that, yeah.
Okay. So from that standpoint, this particular site has 30 of those vans per cycle. So we would have 30 vans in the morning, starting at 9:45. 30 drivers would arrive on site. They're in that blue area. In the morning, there will be a buffer of spaces. So there'll be open spaces for them to park their personal vehicles, at which point they get into a van, drive to the green loading zone inside of the building.
Yeah.
They park their van, an Amazon associate and the driver will load the van over 20 to 30 minutes. During that 20 to 30 minutes, 30 more drivers now come on site. If they're, they will park in the newly open spaces that the van drivers just opened by driving into the green loading zone. They park in the blue area and drive into the purple staging area. They park there, they shut their vans off, and they wait till the next spot opens up. As the green vans complete their loading, they leave the facility and head out on their 10-hour delivery route. We don't sort of like blow a whistle or wave a flag or anything along those lines. Once they're loaded, they head out. So it's not 30 vans all at once. There will be some staggered nature to the release of the vans just as they're loaded. At which point, once those vehicles have exited, the purple vehicles begin driving in and replacing those vehicles as they head out. So at which point, then, oh, go ahead.
So you're pulsing 30 vehicles in and out of the site every 20 minutes, or are you pulsing 60 vehicles in and out of the site every 30 minutes?
30 vehicles every 20 to 30 minutes.
But you have 30 people coming in.
Correct. But that's in a more, they have the entire 30, the van drivers coming in have that entire 20 to 30 minute window to arrive in their personal vehicles and get into the staging area.
All right. So, I mean, let's just call it 30 vehicles in and out every 30 minutes.
Okay.
And when does that end?
That ends most days. Now, again, this is the predominant portion of the year. That should end somewhere between 12 and 1 p.m.
12.
And so what
So
about
it's
during the high season of the year?
Sure. So from November to mid-November, basically, a week and a half, 2 weeks from now, until mid-January, you will be in our peak season. So that may be extended potentially an hour earlier, where we may start at 9, but more likely we're extending later and we're heading out of the site later in the day. So that may extend from 12 to 1, from say 1 to 2 or 2:30.
So you're trying to say that all those vans will be gone by 12:30 in the afternoon?
Correct. From that standpoint, we may have vans leaving earlier in the morning through till 12:30, 1 o'clock. But this lot is encompassing far more vans than we are going to need to operate this facility.
Well, I guess just to do the math, that's 180. That's 180 total in-outs, right?
Correct.
Well, that's 180 outs, and you can have another 180 back in, right? So it's 300.
Correct. But on the inbound van driver traffic, we do utilize, we do see in our existing sites carpooling, people that take Uber or Lyft. I don't believe with the location.
I'm not. I'm trying to get the in and out. Like your vans leave, so it looks like you're cycling 180 out, and then you're going to cycle 180 vans back in. I'm not
correct.
So that's basically your traffic impact, right?
Then why are you asking for 600 spaces for 600 vans if you're only going to use 180, and it's going to take you 20 cycles if you have 600 vans? So that takes you till about 6:30 at night to get all vehicles out, 30 at a time every 30 minutes.
So this site, the parking on this site is excessive for this site's operation. However, in the Commonwealth, we do have additional site locations. What we're talking about is potentially using up to 300 during peak at our most for this site. However, there are potential sites that may need parking down the road. This site will never put out more than 300 vans through it. There's just no way to have more than that capacity in a building of this size. The additional parking that we are proposing here is to allow for the potential that if we locate nearby sites, that parking may be utilized by our overall operations in the region.
Yeah, sure. But I mean, basically you're saying your peak volume is going to be 300 trips in a 300 round trip. No. 180 round trips, 300 in-out events.
600.
Yeah, no. Let me clarify. The bulk of the year, outside of mid-November to mid-January, member portent, that 180 is what we're talking about. 180 out in the morning, 180 back in the evening.
Yeah.
During mid-November to mid-January, and this isn't a steady state, but our absolute peak number through this building would be potentially 300 vans. But that is not every single day from mid-November to mid-January. Those are going to be the individual days, maybe a couple days in a row, but we don't see that happening more than a small handful of days consecutively during that point in the year. It's just because of how
let's just play this out. I mean, I got an Amazon box in my driveway like every 5 minutes. So I'm assuming you guys have a growth projection as far as like what your volumes could be in and out of that site over time. I mean, you can't also be sitting there telling me you're not going to increase your rate as your business grows.
No, but the way we don't solve additional capacity needs by putting more throughput in these buildings. It's just does not work from an efficiency standpoint, and quite frankly, from an operational standpoint. What we're going to do is this site takes a certain amount of zip codes. What'll happen then is we'll add another site and another site to handle future capacity growth. We are not going to run these sites hot and leave us in a position where we can't meet the needs of our customers in these locations. So we're going to expand our network, not expand the capacity on those locations, because it just doesn't work from an efficiency standpoint.
So we're planning, I mean, if we plan at the upper limit, so 300 is your max. That's all you'd ever do out of the site.
Yes, through the building, yes.
That's that's good to know. Okay.
Well, but that's just those delivery service vans. I mean, there's so much other traffic, resulting in over 2,100 trips on a daily basis. So
2,100 trips?
Yep. That's in the traffic impact study. So here's what I calculated.
Not for Amazon. You mean total?
Total.
Yeah, total. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Plus the 300 now, right? Does that include the 300?
Right. So it's the 33 large trucks that arrive daily, 118 associates arriving to do the sorting work, 39 managers arriving to work. Then you've got the 350, which is what's in the plan, to arrive in their personal car. Then, of course, they have to depart in a van. They come back in a van, and then they depart again with their personal vehicle. And then on top of that, we have 165 flex drivers arriving in their empty car and then leaving with a full car.
Correct.
So,
I had not gotten to the flex drivers as part of the timeline yet.
So it's 2,100 trips total per day for the site, all in.
Right.
At its peak levels.
So maybe Larry, you might know the answer to this. What was the equivalent projection for the deck buildings when they were built?
You're asking me to really reach back into my.
Well, just so you understand the purpose of my question, I'm just trying to baseline it. So if you're at 2,100 now, and this thing was approved, I don't know, back in the day when you were generating, I don't know, how many employees were in here?
I can answer that question. It was 300,000 square feet out there.
Yeah.
And DEC always planned on a metric of four employees per 1,000 square feet. So
okay.
And generally that's 4 vehicle trips a day, because somebody comes into work, goes out for lunch, comes back, and then goes out for then leaves at the end of the day.
All right. So let's just crunch it real fast. What is that? How does that come out? So 300,000. You said 4 employees per what?
Per 1,000 square feet.
Per 1,000. So 300.
That's 1,200.
So 1,200, and you said 4 per day. It's
close to 5,000.
It's close to 5,000. So you're not even at where you would have been if this was occupied office space as it was originally approved.
And there's 2 factors there. One is we're not close to that. And also office workers arrive during peak hour traffic. And
I got that part. I'm just saying, like, if you just wanted to baseline this, you're still way under where you would have been.
Well, Jerry, we have a traffic consultant working on what their baseline is and what their projected is. So why don't we wait till we actually get the traffic study, because it's kind of rudimentary for us.
I'm just trying to get an idea what the volume actually means. Not we can dot our I's and cross our T's. I'm just saying that sounds to me like you're still under that volume.
Yes.
Okay. That's it. That's all I had.
Okay.
Before you move off this page,
Sure.
Can I ask a couple questions?
Mm-hmm.
So in the process, I'm looking at the green area where the vans drive into. So there's basically a large garage door, if you will, and the vehicles drive in there. They get loaded up, and then they drive out. So I seem to recall that there was a concern elsewhere that has a similar facility that people would then stop on the side of the road and sort of rejigger their load and then move away from there. So what's going to happen here differently to keep the drivers, van drivers or independent drivers from doing that?
Sure. So all of the van drivers are third-party independent contractors. What we've realized from those legacy sites is essentially a few things. One, the process that you're describing, it happens a lot of times related to the offsite lots and the lack of sort of focused attention by management to that process. What we've also done is brought the management of our third-party independent contractors in-house. So they will be on-site managing their delivery routes, which is something that, we've have roughly 160 delivery stations that we launched over the last 5 years. This has been a process that Amazon has now going to probably launch that many or more every year going forward throughout North America. We are learning how to better run our business in real time as it relates to these delivery stations. So the legacy sites, in particular, the 2 or 3 in Massachusetts, have had a multitude of issues that cause some of these problems that you're referring to. One is they are co-located sites, meaning there are other tenants working in the buildings. So these buildings are also co-located. The parking is not as efficient. So we're not able to, we have to bring the vans from offsite locations. We did not have the delivery service partners management on site like we do in the new, more efficiently run locations. So as well as implementing different capacity requirements in the vans to allow for the 10-hour delivery route to be done safely, and instituting safety guidelines and safety tracking information in the vans themselves to allow us to monitor driver behavior. So with that occurring now, what happens is there's more time for the vans to be loaded in the buildings themselves than was before, because we have a more efficient cycle that allows the vans to be loaded through in these newly designed buildings. We also don't have other tenants in the space occupying other parking areas, causing our drivers to have to deal with navigating through lots with other non-Amazon traffic, because what that allows us to do is know, like the clock that I laid out, how the drivers are going to efficiently flow through the site. Then with management on site, when these drivers return to the location at the end of their route at 7 p.m. to roughly 10:30, they undergo a delivery route review. So they're going to review their day's deliveries. The vehicles undergo a safety check, and they're going to review any potential incidents with their management on site. We then have instituted essentially a 3-tier process of infractions. Tier 3 is going to involve additional trainings, safety measures, and potentially reduction in that driver's capacity. Tier 2 infractions, and I'll get to.
Can I just for purposes of moving this meeting along, what I would recommend you do is, I mean, Anna, sounds like you have questions, right? You've got potential pain points. Why don't you guys address those pain points in a letter? It basically says, pain point, and here's our mitigation, and here's how we'll do it. Because what we can do at the very least, we can put guardrails around that, your concerns, to say, and we can work with other town officials to have the site monitored, at least from a traffic perspective, just to make sure that those things aren't actually happening. So, I mean, those aren't big concerns of mine, just because I think we can mitigate those concerns. But I would address it that way. Just, we'll give you the pain points. You guys give us a response, lay out your mitigation plan, and then we can work with it from there.
That works for us. I think the one last point I would make related to the legacy sites is just that, there were certain, I would say, officials that utilize that site for sort of other purposes in the public eye. We work to mitigate the issues at those sites just like we would at any of our locations, and try to be the best corporate citizen that we can. And so I think that, a lot of the lessons learned have already been implemented. So happy to do that with the board here and address any pain points that you have.
That'll work. All right. Keep on going, please.
Okay.
I would just say, Larry, the last thing, and we touched on it briefly from an operations standpoint, was the flex drivers. We do have roughly, call it 10% of the tractor trailers that would come in during the daytime period, not during the overnight stretch. That capacity that comes in at that point is unloaded via a much smaller crew of associates, and then we utilize flex drivers, which are essentially Uber or Lyft, but for Amazon packages. So you come in with your personal vehicle, as the board member described earlier, you load your personal vehicles, you're given a designated time to arrive on site, you drive into the green loading zone, load your personal vehicle, and head out. Those cars do not return to the site unless they have an undeliverable package, which is rare.
Okay.
That's it for your presentation or your update for this meeting?
Well, one thing I wanted to conclude with one remark. Yeah, that's it. And in summary, we believe that we've designed a good project. It complies with the zoning. And I mentioned the Conservation Commission last Monday. We worked with the commission to mitigate its concerns. It raised some concerns, and I think we mitigated all of those concerns. I'd like to say to the board that if the board has any remaining concerns, and now's the portion of the meeting to talk about it this evening, we recommend that we explore mitigation to advance the project and also to improve the community.
Well, I think you're gonna need to definitely address how we're gonna make these things enforceable. Look, you guys you're a big company, you got a big footprint, you're growing, things are good, but there's concerns around, what happens once you're here and this decision is over and you guys are, doing what you got to do to make a dollar, right? I mean, we need to make sure that there are enforceable mitigations, and I say guardrails, poured around your operation just to ensure we're not negatively impacted. And if we are negatively impacted, there has to be some covenant that we can go back to ensure that we get relief. I mean, the town's hosting, there's a lot of benefits, a lot of upside to this application. No question about that. It does fit in with our master plan. You're getting development in the transportation area around the train station. The town wants to move in that direction with housing and high density housing down there. So this is a great application for the town, but we got to go into this with our eyes open. Our client is the town, and we need to make sure that they, our citizens are satisfied.
Great point. And we can, if the board wishes, we could work with Maren and draft conditions. You've listed a number of issues. We're aware of issues. Amazon has some legacy sites where they've already figured out how to fix whatever problem develops. So if it makes sense to you, we can accomplish that over the next few weeks.
Yeah, not just this board. I mean, certainly, I'm sure the selectmen have, they're a stakeholder here as well. The police, the fire department. If you guys go around, do your due diligence, get a list of concerns.
Well, I think, Jerry, moving forward, we should sit down, have somebody from the planning board, someone from the
Board of
selectmen,
Selectmen.
fire department, police department, sit down with representatives from Amazon and come up with a mitigation package that makes sense for the town moving forward at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, we did that with the point. It was really successful. It had a great outcome. Still has a great outcome today. I think that's just a good path forward for a project.
So why don't we work through Maren to come up with a time and a group to at least sit down and address some of the issues, and traffic being one.
And you're gonna need to. I really think you need to talk to light department too. I mean, if you guys, you've already announced that you're going all electric by 2022, right? I mean, there's going to be 600 Rivian vans there. We have our own municipal light department. You guys want to make sure that we can accommodate that.
So that's a point of clarification. So we're ordering 100,000 electric vehicles by 2030. the first wave of those 10,000 vehicles would be in 2022, but that's spread out through our entire network.
So Jerry, we're not getting electric vehicles.
Oh, no.
Well, they will eventually. I mean, that's
each site will, we're working to understand where we can put this capacity to best serve our customers, and working with the municipalities that have the ability to handle it. We are designing these sites to allow for each one of them to have the possibility to bring electric vehicles to them in the future. But I just wanted to make sure that we had the right understanding of the timeline, that we're essentially standing up, as you mentioned, with Rivian, a entirely new electric vehicle for commercial purposes market and manufacturing process in real time. So we hope to have 10,000 by the end of 2022 and 100,000 by the end of 2030.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So like I said, moving forward, maybe Larry, you can work with Maren, and we can get a group together. We can meet offline to discuss. We can start talking about mitigation. We do have a traffic report. Maren, where are we at with the traffic study? Are you here?
Thank you. Traffic review engineers at Green have provided some input, and I think they have a few more comments to add to the list.
Okay, so we'll wait till they're done to address that. I still have a couple of concerns about the site plan. I'm still stuck on the fact that you have 600 drivers over there, or 300 or whatever there is, and you don't have a bathroom. And you can't rely on them. We've heard about the problems of your van drivers pulling off.
Again, Mark,
What?
I hear what you're saying, but that's what I'm saying. Let's have a joint board meeting on this, or at least have representation.
Jerry,
bring those concerns up to me, because if they're going to say that they have a 300 run maximum limit, then we can hold them to that. Doesn't matter if they park 1,000 vehicles there.
It doesn't. I'm not talking about holding them down how many people. I'm talking about the physical fact that you're going to have people driving there, sitting around waiting to get in their vans with no bathroom over there.
But from that standpoint, those drivers are given designated times to arrive on site. They have the ability then, during the period that they're both staged and during the period that they are loading, to build in time in both of those processes for the drivers to utilize the facilities at that time.
So he gets to the site and he's not due to get there to go until 9:30. You guys are running late because it's snowing out and you're backed up till 9:50. He's sitting in there for 20, 30 minutes in his car or in his van waiting, and there's no place for him to go. What do you think is going to happen? You've had that issue in Milford, and it's an ongoing concern about the fact that you have no bathrooms waiting for the van drivers to queue up. I don't understand why it's a big deal. You've got a huge spot there that you can't put a satellite building out there so that the people that work for you have someplace to go to the bathroom, or if they have, what happens if they get back early, they're sitting there waiting, you say they carpool, they're waiting for the guys that are going to carpool. What are they going to do? You know what they're going to do. I know. I don't want to belabor the point. It's just, you can't expect 600 people to sit there and, especially if they can't go up there yet, if they're not queued to go up there to go load their vehicle and go to the bathroom.
Understood. From our standpoint, it's not the 600 drivers all at once. They're given specific times and a small window to arrive. We utilize yard marshals to help conduct the traffic in those lots. The key difference there with Milford and other legacy sites is the off-site lots and the need for the drivers to sort of crisscross, and they get to the off-site lots early because they know they then have to drive across. Those issues have been addressed using yard marshals in those sites and using management in those off-site locations to curb that sort of driver behavior. And I think if you speak to those towns, you'll see that those issues are long in nature and haven't been happening in the recent term.
So Mark, if I could jump in here, I hear exactly what you're saying. And I think this is one of the things we could discuss in that group meeting with all the town officials in it, or a few of the town officials. if we can't demonstrate to your satisfaction that we've mitigated that problem, then your solution is something that we would consider.
Okay. All right.
I was going to add that in, Larry, and just say, Mark, yeah, we think Amazon's got a good plan for it. If you're not satisfied with it, we'll do our best to put something that holds us accountable, and we'd have to solve it. And as landlords, that's on us and our dime. So
I don't think there's any concern there that you couldn't mitigate.
And I think from our standpoint, we're happy to have this sort of group meeting as the prospective tenant, and to have these discussions. We do it in a number of the communities throughout the Commonwealth that we're launching new locations, and these meetings have been extremely productive to the overall process, and we look forward to doing it here in Littleton.
Does anyone else on the board have any questions or concerns?
Well, actually, I do have a question. I mean, has anyone talked to the state about being able to punch out to the ramp directly? I mean, you're right next to the ramp for Route 2. They did it for Fidelity, all right? I mean, why wouldn't they do it for you? Like, you should ask. Because it would take the whole local traffic problem off the table.
Wow.
Jerry, we'll ask the question. I'm afraid I know the answer, but we'll ask the question.
Well, Fidelity got one.
Yeah.
Okay. Is anyone else? Delisa, do you have any questions or concerns?
No.
Anna, do you?
Not at this time. I'll go ahead and post them for the next meeting.
Okay. What about Maren? Do we have anybody with their hands up?
There's nobody with their hands up with questions at this point.
Okay. So when do we want to schedule our next meeting? December, when are we meeting? The 3rd?
Yeah, December 3rd.
Would you be able to get in before that? I mean, would you guys be able to have a joint meeting before that meeting?
We'd like to have the joint meeting as soon as we can.
Okay, so Larry,
I'm like, Mark, can we pull that off? Like,
yes, we can have Maren contact Larry and come up with a group from Selectmen, Planning Board, Fire Department, Police Department, and
Town Administrator's Office.
Yeah, Minister. Yeah.
I would recommend that we don't
put that together.
I would recommend that we don't get back together officially until we're pretty much satisfied. There's no point going around in circles in a meeting if we're moving either to a decision or we can't come to an agreement. Like,
well, we still have stuff. We still have a traffic report to go. We still have stuff to do in the next meeting. It is hoped that if we meet within the next 10 days or something, that we'll be ready to. We'll have hopefully come to some common ground by the time we meet in December. How's that?
Okay. I mean, I'm just saying. I just want to make sure it's productive.
Yeah, my suggestion is let's hold that December 3rd meeting, and if for some reason we can't put together a productive meeting in between, we can always continue. But I think the chair is right that there may be other issues that we can talk about as well. So it's a worthwhile meeting to have.
Let's keep it on the agenda.
Great, thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else have any other questions or concerns?
There's still no hands raised.
Okay.
So time for Thursday, December 3rd. I'm recommending 8:30 p.m. That gives you the opportunity to open 3 new applications that are coming in for the December 3rd meeting. And
why do we want to push them so late?
Because we have other new applications, and if it turns out that we don't need the time for this discussion, we'll be
done earlier. Why don't we? I'll meet you halfway. Why don't we say 8 o'clock? Right.
Sure.
All right. We'll put them on for 8 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great.
So somebody had a motion to continue?
Continue till 8 o'clock on December 3rd. Who wants to second that?
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor? Anna?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Delisa?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Okay, great. Thank you, gentlemen and ladies.
Thank you for your time. I think we made a lot of progress, and I look forward to that meeting.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Good night.
Great. So we have a few minutes while we wait for our 8 o'clock. So why don't we finish up with board business and things like that for the next 11 minutes? How's that? How about minutes? Has everybody got a chance to look at the minutes for September 10th and October 1st? Does anyone have any problems with them or issues with them?
Nope.
Nope. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes. for
Actually, I have a question, comment.
I knew I wouldn't get through it. Go ahead.
So for September 10th, I'm good with those, and October 26th. On October 1st, though, I do think that the data that's listed in there to reflect the changes that were proposed by you, Mark, for the number of affordable units on Hinger Homestead. So this is on page 9 of the meeting minutes. I would actually propose that that Lucia and Maren go back in and present it as a table, because it's not very easy to understand, and I actually don't think they were accurate. So I provided something to show Maren what I was talking about. So hopefully that can be done.
Do you have a problem doing that?
Yeah, I'm happy to draft those changes and bring this back for review at a future meeting.
Okay, so we'll make a motion to approve the September 10th meeting
And
minutes.
there were actually draft minutes for October 26th as well.
And October 26th as well. It doesn't say that here, but okay.
Yeah.
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Delisa, Gary, Anna,
Aye.
Yeah.
Anna, and I'm a yes. Okay, great. Bills and payroll. Do we have anything, Maren?
I'll send you the bills as they come in. We'll probably get another batch from Green International, and we have a newspaper renewal for the Eagle Independent.
Okay. We have street accepted plans for Bennett's Orchard, Chestnut Lane, Cooper Farms, Estates, and Durkee and K.
Yep. So Joe Layden, Assistant Town Administrator, our next step is to bring the plans to the Select Board, bring the street acceptance plans to the Select Board for their signature. Joe just wanted to do another back check. So he and Green International and I need to get together on when we can do that, and then they bring them forward to the Select Board.
Okay.
I threw that on there in case there was any updates to give you on those, but
There's nothing.
nothing at this point.
Okay, so last but certainly not least is the bond reduction request from Chestnut Lane.
Yep, Colby's been working through the last of the details on the Chestnut Lane portion that was accepted at town meeting. Things are actually going very well out there with him. He requested release of the remaining funds for the main portion of the roadway. The only issue that I haven't heard resolved is the no outlet sign is installed lower than we're used to seeing. Just hoping to get some input from DPW on if that's acceptable or not. I haven't heard back yet from Chris. But we do recommend that everything else get released.
And how much is, what's there, like 40,000 left out there?
No, it isn't that much. Let me pull that information. It'll take a few minutes.
It was paved. Everything's pretty much been done. I saw that they were working, straightening out the culvert, the bunch of stuff out there.
Yep, and the other portion of that is Colby also has started the two outstanding items from the shared residential driveway. One of them was the constructing the wetland mitigation area, and that's been completed. And the other was repair of the culvert under the shared driveway. He's had that repair done. Engineer's gone out and take a look at it and is going to be providing an as-built for that area. So next meeting, there will be another request for the bond release for the shared residential driveway. But that's That is a separate bond.
Okay, so
So
it's paved, it's done, it's get ready for town meeting. I mean, it's been accepted by
past
town meeting,
town
so,
meeting.
yeah, so there's no reason to keep the rest of the money, so I'll entertain a motion to do the reduction in request for the balance on Chestnut Lane, right? It's all the money, right? That we're not keeping anything.
Yep, I'll give you that amount just a sec. Okay, so approximately 4,500 plus interest.
Okay. So anyone want to, I'll make a motion that we release the remaining 4,500 plus interest that we've been holding for the bonding of Chestnut Lane. Anyone want to second that?
I'll second it.
She can second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Anna?
Yes.
Delisa, see, I screwed you up. I didn't let you go first.
I
Delisa?
know.
All right, Jerry?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. I saw you were ready, Delisa. That's why I switched. All right.
You're messing with my
Okay,
head.
so that takes care of everything. Pretty much all board business done. What else do we have? Nothing till 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock is to be continued, right? We're not going to do Hager, correct?
That's correct. I think Bruce is here for the discussion on when to
okay.
talk about it, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Just here as representative of the applicant to see what kind of dates you come up with for when it's going to be continued so I can notify them.
The 12th of November, we're going to have a special meeting just to sign it. How's that, Bruce?
Sounds like a plan. I thank you much.
So can you put a different picture behind you then, since we're not dealing with that?
I will.
Okay.
Very quickly.
All right. So now we have 10 more minutes we don't know what to do with. So Anna has to step off for the A10, correct?
I have to.
I mean, Delisa, yes.
Yeah, I do. And Mark, since we're finished with board business, I have to step off for both. So I'll just say goodnight to everybody then too.
Wait, is that a special permit?
Well, first one is a special permit. Second one is
Right, the other way around. The 810 at 531 King Street is an informal discussion.
informal discussion. That's what I was trying to get out, but I was tongue-tied.
Don't we need 4 for the special permit?
We do.
Yep, Mr. Yates is prepared to review the video and
Okay.
follow him back in.
So has Jeff decided by necessity to come back in?
He hasn't had an opportunity to have that conversation with town council yet. That hearing will be sometime in the future, so.
So what about opening the public hearing then, if we only have 3 of us?
Yeah, we allowed to do that?
Yes,
So we can open it, we just can't do anything.
you can open it, you can take testimony, you can do anything you want except vote.
Right. So one of the two, either Delisa or Jeff is going to have to mullinize themselves and also come back on as from a necessity point of view, because we need 4.
And I've already discussed with the ethics board that Jeff should be the one to do that. That I have, because he has no financial interest. I have financial interest in one of them.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and town council will walk us all through that process by the time we need to open the public hearing for 531 King Street, under the assumption that we will be getting an application sometime soon.
I'm talking about,
It wasn't,
I'm talking about 160 Air Road, Mara. What are we going to do about that? That's the same thing.
right, Mr. Yates is prepared to review the tape of the meeting
And he's
and
going to
sign
stay
the
on.
form so he can rejoin,
Okay.
join.
All right. We're
Yep.
good for that then. Okay.
Yep. Mhm.
All right.
She already
All
said
right.
that, Mark.
Great. So in 10 minutes, we can start with that. Do we have anything else we need to discuss?
No. Yeah.
No?
What do we have to, we want to talk about the senior bylaw then, if we got 10 minutes?
Sure.
The town council recommended we not take a look at it until after we're done with Hager.
Town
Okay.
council.
Yeah.
Well, if that's correct, then I guess that discussion needs to be held after the Hager.
Well,
Yeah,
that's what
that's
it
where
is.
it's on the agenda.
That's
Thank
how it's
you,
on the
Lauren.
agenda. Yeah,
Thank you.
see?
Yeah.
Um,
All right. So what do you want to do for 10 minutes? Everyone just take a stretch break, get up, walk around.
get a drink of water.
Seems
Yeah.
like a great idea.
I'm going to take a break.
All right.
I'll
Sounds
Why
just-
don't we
good.
go? We'll come back
Okay,
at 8:10.
Mark,
Hey.
I'm gonna leave
Yeah, you
then.
can go.
All right,
We're done. You
Night.
can. You get an early night. You start drinking now.
that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go home now.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks, Delisa.
All right.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we'll take a, 10-minute break until 8:10?
8:10. Sure.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. Bye. You just can leave it on whether we're here or not, right? Good water.
Hey, Maren. Hello. You're muted. Hi. Not to talk out of school or anything, but quick question. I sent over that revised site plan the other day, taking off the one handicap space. Is it all right to talk of that this evening? I saw it wasn't posted on the site, but I didn't know if I could put that one up.
Yeah, please do.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Should have gone outside. Are you still there, Maren? Are we all
Yeah,
muted?
I'm here. I'm back. I got my stretch.
Oh. Yeah. So you're gonna put that meeting together, right? Me, Joe, Chuck, I would assume probably. Then definitely police and fire, and then who else? Do you want someone from conservation, or are they? I think it sounds like they're pretty much all set with conservation.
Yeah.
If you want to do middle of the day, I can probably pick a day. They
Okay,
sound like they
Sarah.
want it sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think so.
Mhm. What you do, freeze everybody else?
No, they pretty much froze themselves.
Well, Bruce isn't, well, I guess Bruce is moving now. You can never tell if Bruce is alive or dead anyway.
Yeah,
He's just
exactly.
sitting there.
How come you're not outside tonight, Mark? It's warm.
You know, I was thinking, yeah, it's, I don't know. It's too much paperwork. I didn't want to bring it all out there. I might go out afterwards and get a fire. Who knows? I'm not going to get many more weekends like this.
No, this weekend's definitely going to be a nice one.
It's going to be beautiful. Yeah, I'm heading to the Cape. Last weekend down the Cape.
Yeah. This weekend's been, this day's been crazy.
Yeah.
4 Zoom meetings during the day and 3 Zoom hearings tonight.
Well, we had a Zoom meeting earlier, Maren and I, and then this.
Paul, that's a noisy mic.
Sorry, I was adjusting it. I want to make sure that I come through loud and clear.
All right, well, I'll mute out. Goodbye.
All right. We'll wait for Jerry to get back here. It's just about 8 o'clock. So.
Game on?
You here? Good. Okay, great. So we have an 8:10 discussion on the proposed application for a retail marijuana special permit, 531 King Street Community Care Collaborative. Who would like to give us a brief overview of what you're proposing? This is obviously an informal discussion.
It's an informal discussion, Mr. Chairman. It's a pleasure to be there here. I wish we were all together live and in person. It's much nicer that way. I'm Paul Alf, and I represent Community Care Collective, Inc. And Community Care Collective plans to submit shortly a site plan approval application and a special permit application for an adult use marijuana establishment for retail sales at units 4, 5, and 6 at 531 King Street. The bylaw encourages applicants for such uses to schedule an informal meeting with the planning board to go over the application materials to see if the applicant is fulfilling the requirements of the bylaw and to determine if there's any additional information that the board would desire to see at the public hearing so it could be submitted as part of the hearing package. Notwithstanding, we've submitted 148 pages of documents to you. This is not a public hearing, but it's a preview of the application. We hope that once we submit a complete application, it will be that 148 pages plus anything else the board believes that we should have. I'm here with Dave Giannetta. He's the principal of Community Care Collective, Inc. We've also got our head of security, our chief of security, Michael Allen, and the engineer from Hancock, Brian Goudreau, is here as well. I'm just going to go over the brief summary of the items that we have submitted, and the other parties are going to provide a little bit more information about them without getting into excessive detail because of the informal nature of the meeting. You should have the package, and in the cover letter, there's itemization of what was submitted at this time. We have included the final executed host community agreement that our client has with the town. We have a written description of the status of the application before the Cannabis Control Commission. We're hoping to be able to say that we had a provisional license today, but the CCC schedule got rearranged, so we'll have that, but we hope to have that shortly, as David will explain. We are a statement that we're not seeking any waivers of any of the regulations. And I should have said that the reason we came up with this list is we perused the zoning bylaw and your checklist for applicants. We merged the two of them together, and we came up with what we believe to be a complete list of the items that need to be submitted. We've submitted copies of all policies and procedures that have been approved by the Cannabis Control Commission, a statement describing the quantity and source of all sources of the products, the names and addresses of each owner of the facility, and a copy of the applicant's articles of organization, and a current certificate of legal existence, the copies of all licenses and permits, and all, that is just one. They have a provisional license issued for a retail facility in Billerica. And that's why that is in there, because it asks for all licenses and permits. And we don't know if you meant from other towns, but there you go. We've submitted evidence that the applicant has site control in the form of a lease for the property. We have the site plan and floor plans, along with some additional information, including photographs of some of the site lighting, so you can envision what the facility will look like after sunset. We have a statement that no smoking, burning, or consumption of any marijuana product shall be permitted at the establishment. We have examples of signs to be posted at conspicuous locations. Evidence that the applicant has held a community outreach hearing consistent with the CCC's guidance, and a traffic report. The traffic report is pretty detailed. We did not have our traffic engineer attend today's meeting because of the nature of the informality, but certainly he'll be available and present at the formal meeting. So unless you have something off the top of the bat that you believe that we have not included, I would, next thing would like to do is just have Dave go over some of the details regarding some of the permitting process that he's gone through up to now.
I think you hit all the high points on the checklist, so that's good.
Yeah. And Mr. Alphen, I would just like to remind you that we only had 20 minutes on the agenda for this. So in whatever review you have, that's hopefully sufficient time.
Capiche.
Thank you,
Okay.
Paul, and thank you to the board for having us tonight. My name's Dave Gianetta. I reside at 37 Spartan Arrow Road here in Littleton. As Paul had mentioned, we are applying for a special permit. We intend on being on the December 3rd agenda. And, mainly I just wanted to introduce myself for those who don't know who I am. I've been spending quite some time with the town of Littleton since dating back to April of 2019. I won't bore you with all of the details. A lot of you are familiar with them. But mainly, multiple submissions to the town, a few RFIs, responses back to the town, and then ultimately signing a host community agreement with the town, which I'm very pleased with, and look forward to working with the town in that regard. Just as of right now, where we stand, as Paul had mentioned, we intended on having the provisional license as of today, actually, but they moved the Cannabis Control Commission moved that meeting until Friday the 13th. So the expectation there is that we will be on that agenda. I will know that by the 11th, and I would expect to receive another provisional license from the Cannabis Control Commission. So we've followed the checklist that has been provided by Marin, and we feel like we'll have a complete application ready to go for the hearing. Just one quick point as far as our HCA goes. We did have one site condition that is somewhat unique to a host community agreement, but nevertheless, we did have a site condition where we would have a fence. We did agree to a fence around the perimeter of the lot to create a clear separation and delineation between our location at 531 King Street and the neighbors surrounding. So we still intend on including that, and we'll have that in our application on our site plan. Also, hours of operation, a lot of times that's something that the planning board is going to want to discuss. And we've already agreed to a 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Sunday with the select board. Other than that, I just wanted to say thank you again. And, I'm just committed to the process and looking forward to working with all of you and coming to some form of a mutual agreement. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
I'm going to pass this off to Brian Goudreau if the board doesn't have any questions, but we're open to questions.
Well, can you elaborate a little bit more on the fence? What's the material?
So material has not been established. We're open to suggestions. I mean, the thought.
Are we talking? Well, I guess what I'm saying is it intended for noise and privacy mitigation?
It's mainly for privacy. There's really no noise of any kind expected, but it's mainly for privacy. During I actually had 2 community outreach meetings, and during those meetings, the local abutting residents had kind of implied that was something that would be of interest. So I pretty much went right ahead and committed to that. So much so that it did enter into the HCA itself. We had a diagram.
My own personal recommendation on that is I would make it as aesthetic as reasonably possible.
Yeah, I appreciate that. My background is in residential construction and real estate sales. I hear you there, and we'll definitely do something that's aesthetically pleasing, and happy to work with the board on that and open to suggestions. So
yeah. The other comment I have is, and this is more to Maren. I mean, for a document like this is an image document. It's not read-only PDF. It makes it impossible to text search this. Is there a way in the future if an applicant's going to bring in a document like this to make it text searchable? I mean, you can OCR it. If Littleton doesn't have that software, then they should have to provide a read format. Because you can't text search this document. There's no way to find anything. You got to scroll through the whole thing.
Yeah, this is how the application, well, the information was submitted.
I would just recommend
almost
that.
never.
I mean, it just raises the amount of time it takes to review a document. Like
Mhm.
this should be searchable. It's not.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions? Anna, do you have anything?
Sure. Mr. Giannetta, hi, how are you?
How are you? Thank
Good.
you.
So a couple of things, if you can be prepared to discuss, I think it would be helpful. As you said, you had a provisional license for another facility. So if you can please talk about that. Doesn't need to be this evening, but if you can be prepared to talk about that and be prepared to talk about how you yourself will be spending your time between multiple facilities and what that's going to look like. As you may recall from the marijuana task force group, we took a great deal of time in understanding what every applicant's intentions were, time spent, and the ownership structure as well. So if ownership structure is not in your articles of organization, please make sure it's in there in its most updated format. And
Sure. Yeah.
You had mentioned that you had, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, just as far as, articles of organization, the structure is I am the only principal. Obviously we will have staff. However, I am just by nature a very hands-on owner and would expect to be hands-on at both locations. Obviously, one person cannot be in two locations at once. However, I do intend on managing both facilities very closely. Obviously, one is in the town that I reside in. The other is only 15 minutes away. So I don't expect that to be an issue.
Well, if you can provide more concrete detail on that, that would be great.
Absolutely.
Okay.
What's the standard? Anna, what's the standard?
What do you mean? What's the standard?
Well, what's the standard by which you're going to measure that information?
Well, I mean, if Mr. Giannetti says that Giannetta, is going to say that he's going to plan to spend 2 hours a week in Littleton and 40 hours at the other location, that would obviously be, cause for concern. So I think it's just based on what information he provides.
You mean there's no standard to that?
Well, do you have a standard, Jerry?
No, that's what I'm asking. Like, I mean, what does it matter how he splits his time if there's no standard?
Well, I'd like to hear what he has to say about that. I think part of our role is to assess reasonableness. So I'm going to move on to the next question that I have, and that is in terms of the resident meetings you said that you had. Have you had any more interactions with residents, with surrounding business owners, and what do those conversations entail? And then another question is, no, that's it. Those are the ones that I currently have.
Yeah, if I may, just that last question. So, we did have the community outreach meeting by Zoom on it was August 27th, I believe, and there was really one resident who attended, or I shouldn't say one resident, but one abutter who attended, and their main concern was identified as the fence. We discussed it, and there was acknowledgement of that and seemingly some approval of it. So, I would hope that during an actual planning board hearing, we could discuss that further with the abutter should they attend. And, as far as also other attendance with other neighbors, prior to receiving the host community agreement or signing the host community agreement, we I actually had an informal meeting where I met with 4 neighbors at one residence at Robinson Road, the abutting road to our location. And the meeting took about, I'd say, roughly an hour and 15 minutes. There were a number of topics discussed, you know, and I'll say the same thing I said during a select board meeting, and that is that you know, although there is no you know, direct approval, and you know, the neighbors were not you know, going to support me. They made that very clear. They did acknowledge that the revised plan, because as this plan began, it was the entire building at 531 King Street. The revised proposal that eventually was signed into the HCA was for half of the building. So you know, I think that made the neighbors feel a little bit better. I think just overall, just my willingness, and I still stand behind this, that I am willing to, you know, continue forward and see what else is requested, or what I can do to make the situation more comfortable.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I do have one final question that I just remembered. So you mentioned that you would be making sure that there is no use of marijuana inside your facility, and then in terms of the outside of the facility, you know, somebody comes outside is very eager to use their recently purchased product. So if you could be as specific as possible about what your organization intends to do about that.
Absolutely, yeah, that'll be in our security plan narrative. I do have our Chief of Security, Mike Allen, with us today. He can also speak further to that, but we would have, you know, an unarmed security guard outside as well as inside. So on the outside, monitoring the parking lot, you know, checking IDs on the way in, but also monitoring the parking lot on the way out, making sure that there is no use of any products that were purchased, or any use of any kind. If there is, you know, the police department will be contacted.
Can we hear from security? We have about a minute left.
Please.
Brian, we can hear from Brian very quickly.
Would you like security first, Mark?
Sure.
Okay, Mike Allen, please go ahead.
Sure. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Mike Allen, and I am the Chief of Security for Community Care Collective. Just a quick overview of my background. I've been working in this industry now for just about 4 years. Prior to that, my background was in law enforcement. I spent 30 years as a police officer, and my last 5 as a police chief up in Rochester, New Hampshire. And when I retired, I started my own security consulting company called Armstrong Security, and I've been servicing the cannabis industry for the last 4 years. Since I actually had another project in Littleton that was approved a number of years ago, and that was the cultivation facility that I was involved in, developing the security for that facility as well. So I do have some background and experience in the town of Littleton. But I've been working across the Commonwealth now for the last 4 years. I've been in 22 different communities, been involved in opening 6 different retail dispensaries, 2 different cultivation facilities, and currently involved in about 20 other facilities that are in various stages of development. So I do bring a lot of experience to the industry and to this project in the town of Littleton. And what I can tell you is the security plans that have been developed for this facility are first class, and they were developed in partnership with your police chief, Chief Plnbrd. I did meet with him. We did go over the plan. He gave his approval to the plans, so he has reviewed them. And the plans are really developed with what I use in this business that I used in law enforcement, and that's the methodology of crime prevention through environmental design, which I'm sure are familiar with. But that methodology is really instrumental in developing these facilities from a security and safety perspective. But to give you a general overview of the security features at this facility, as mentioned, with addressing issues not just inside the facility but outside the facility in terms of potentially someone wanting to consume product, we will have on-site security both inside and out, doing patrols of the rounding, if you will, of the parking lot in the entire inside of the facility. We also have, in terms of security features, we have ID verification scanners. So that's something that we do above and beyond what's required by regulation. And I can tell you all the security standards that we've put in place in all the equipment is either meets or exceeds all the standards of the Cannabis Control Commission. I know anti-diversion is a big issue in many communities, if not all. And what I can tell you is we put strict standards in place to really mitigate that issue. And obviously the ID verification is a big one. We do 3 different sets of ID verification coming into the facility. One's at the door, one's at the registration desk, and another one is at the point of sale. So there's really that 3-layered approach to ensuring that nobody under the age of 21 gets our product in their hands. Our transportation procedures are another issue that will come up in many communities. What we've done at the back of the facility, I know it's not shown on the diagram that you have in your packet, but we do plan on fencing in a secure delivery area at the back of the facility where our secure receiving door is. So our delivery vehicles, which come in on randomized days and times, that area would be a secure area for that delivery vehicle to drive into and exit from, that's locked. So that's another additional feature that we go above and beyond what's required by the CCC. And in terms of
excuse me,
yes.
sorry, Mark, we need to start the other hearing.
Yes, I know. I was just about.
My apologies. I'll stop there.
Thank you for sharing.
Sure.
You're going to ruin it for us in December. You're going to have nothing to say.
I'm sorry. I tend to. I love talking about security, so I sometimes get carried away.
Thank you. All right, David, do you have anything else, or can we? We'll wait to see you in December.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and thanks again for meeting with us tonight. Appreciate it.
And please let us know if you think there's something else that needs to be submitted as you go through the packages. Go through Maren and let us know, please.
Again, it'd be a lot easier to do that if we could search it.
I'll see
Thank
what
you,
I can
Paul.
do.
Thank you, Terry. All right, we have an 8:30 public hearing application for a retail marijuana establishment and an Aquifer Water Resource District special permit for 160 Air Road, Littleton Apothecary.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me okay?
So if I may, I'll start with the reading of the public hearing notice. Consolidated public hearings, adult use marijuana establishment, retail aquifer and resource district special permits, 160 Air Road. The Town of Littleton Planning Board will hold a consolidated public hearing on Thursday, November 5th at 8:30 p.m. to consider the application for special permits pursuant to MGL Chapter 40A in the Code of the Town of Littleton zoning. The application for is a retail adult use marijuana establishment and aquifer water resource district special permits and site plan review under the various sections of the zoning bylaw. Property location 160 Air Road, assessors map R22 parcel 1-1, applicant Littleton Apothecary, owner Athena Assets. The applicant is seeking an adult use marijuana establishment, retail, and aquifer and water resource district special permits to allow retail marijuana sales at this site. application and plans can be viewed online at the town website, and it gives the address, or at the planning board and town clerk's office during their business hours. Any person interested or wishing to be heard on the proposed plan should appear at the time and place designated or provide comment by November 4, if possible, to my email address or planning board office, post office box. And then it goes on to give information on how to attend the Zoom meeting. And please call the planning board office at 978-540-2425 with any questions. Jeff Yates, clerk.
Okay, Jim. Do you wanna
Okay,
give us-
so you can hear me okay.
Yes.
Forgive me for jumping ahead. Good evening. Good to see you all again. I know you know me from my input with Bruce and Shane Carr for G7 in August and September, that successful testing lab at the same property. Tonight, I'm here with Christine Nordhaus, the applicant. The company is Littleton Apothecary. I'd like to just refer to the applicant as Christine throughout the meeting. And of course, Bruce. Christine's, the approach we'd like to take tonight is for me to just give a quick introduction. We're hoping Bruce can then talk about the site plan. I think there may have been a de minimis change, but nothing of significance since the last meeting we had with the G7 testing lab. And then Christine would like to go into a very thorough presentation of her application. I know it's been a long night. You've had some very significant hearings, but it's very important to us. We'll move as quickly as we can. Thank you, Maren, for your efficient guidance and assistance with processing the application. We are...
Jim, can I stop you for a second? Since you started and kept talking about G7, an issue came up about this particular application. And to be honest, I was made aware of it. I spoke with town council. And I just want to make you aware of it, and I need to talk to the board briefly about it. Our bylaw does not allow, well, our bylaw says you can't, basically says non-collated marijuana establishments. So that means you can't have two establishments in the same building, same area. And you were in the middle of permitting both of them. So I spoke with town council about it, and I wanted to bring it by the board to straighten it out. First of all, our feeling is that Christine was really the first applicant to come in, that if we had even thought about this, we should have addressed it at G7 Labs. It's up to the planning board to waive the 500 feet from another establishment. I think we should waive it here. I think the issue is that we're under very tight guidelines as to where these properties could be, these retail establishments should be cited. So we're well within our rights to go about it that way, to acknowledge that they are within 500 feet of each other, but talk about waiving that provision of the bylaw. And I just wanted to make our board aware of it, make you aware of it, and just talk about it very briefly with the board. Jerry, do you understand what I was just talking about?
Yeah, I do.
Well, I'll take a very thorough look at that, Mr. Chairman. Now, with co-location, that doesn't mean an MTC, a medical treatment center, formerly known as an RMD in retail. That means any type of marijuana establishment?
Yeah, anything in the business, yep.
And notwithstanding that, these are two separate units, same ownership, but two separate units under the...
Under the same roof.
Okay.
Well, all right, so Jerry, like I said, talking over with Chris and Tom, Maren and I had a call with them. I don't really think it's an issue. I think the issue is that if we want to stay to the spirit of what we're trying to do, there aren't a lot of places where these marijuana facilities can go. This would probably be a hindrance of it, and the fact that really Christine was the first one in. If we were going to address it, we should have addressed it with G7 Labs, which I don't think we would have addressed it in the first place anyway. So the question is, do we want to waive the 500 feet?
Well, I think that's Understandably, I appreciate that approach, given it's a testing lab and innocuous use with limited staffing and not another retail facility or a production facility.
Exactly. Anna, well, if Anna, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, I guess I just wonder, Mr. Valeriani, why wasn't that something that you picked up, especially given the fact that both G7 and Littleton Apothecary are your clients?
I missed it. I thought co-location in the industry was typically medical marijuana that's been established and then seeking a retail license to operate as well. So I'll certainly go back and research that thoroughly. I'll work with Attorney Mensing to work with Town Council. If a waiver on that distancing can be obtained, we will seek it. We would like to pursue it this evening. If there's a supplemental filing that needs to be made, we can do that as well. But that is the answer to the question.
What's the procedure, though? I mean, what's the procedure here, Mark? Do we have to vote to waive it to continue the hearing?
Yes, we can vote to waive the 500 feet. It's well within our purview.
Continue considering the application, or what?
Yeah, continuing the application.
What are we doing?
Well, but there's only 3 of us, so I think perhaps taking into consideration that Mr. Yates is not here,
Right.
he needs to Mullinize, so.
Yeah, we would seek. Now, this town has adopted the provisions of MGL 3923D on board member missing, but from reading the minutes and certifying, right? For Mr. Yates. Good.
So my point is, I want to continue. I want to keep going. At least tonight, have a brief overview.
Okay.
I wanted to make, like I said, I want to make the rest of the board members aware of it. And if you want to wait till Jeff comes to weigh in on if we think the 500 feet.
I mean, what? I mean, we can't. I don't want to just blindly overlook something like that. I mean, what's the impact of the 500 feet? Why does it even exist? What's the purpose of that?
I can tell you that one.
I want to hear from council. I want to hear from that.
I believe the 500 feet is the standard for away from a school, away from daycare and things like that. I can't honestly tell you. I guess maybe they didn't want to have retail
500 feet from another marijuana business.
Right, another reach.
Why is that written in?
But I would actually think that it was done that way to keep retail establishments away from each other. This is not a retail establishment. This is a testing facility that's entirely different than the retail establishment. So I think we're well within.
Why don't we get an opinion from council as to why?
I already got it. I have an opinion from town council that says that we're well within our purview to waive. And if you would like it sent to the board in writing, I can also have that. I have an email from there. It's well.
So he wasn't concerned at all by the 500 feet?
No, he wasn't.
All right. Okay. That's all I wanted to know. Like,
it was up to us to take that route, to go that route, to waive the 500 feet, and entirely up to us. The only other option you would have is send them to the ZBA, and I don't think we really want to send them to the ZBA. We're the special permit granting authority. We should discuss it. And I could see if it was a retail establishment, 2 of them side by side. No. G7 kind of snuck up on us. Nobody did their homework on what G7 really was. I don't think it's fair to put this upon Christine, where especially we all knew a year and a half ago that she was going there. So it's not like we all didn't know.
So I think to your point, Jerry, what I would be concerned about, again, is setting precedent that if we allow this, then what is that going to mean for any future establishments? Again, I know we only have 2 licenses as of right now, but if they were to change ownership and seek a different site or whatever the case might be. So I think whatever we do, if this is granted a waiver for this particular bylaw, that we go ahead and we state in any sort of decision or condition as to why this was done?
So we'll get that from town council. We'll get it in writing from them for the next meeting. I just wanted to bring it up. I want to continue with the meeting. There's no reason we can't continue with the latest digest version of what's going on, and we'll get the paperwork squared away between both lawyers. Town council was something that we can all, like I said, move on with.
I greatly appreciate that understanding, Mr. Chairman. I mean, it is clear a waiver is allowable. And we would have sought it from the outset for both applications if I had done the due diligence that I should have done for these clients and here at the firm. So we would like to pursue that waiver of the 500-foot distancing. We don't think there's any harm or any derogation from the intent of your bylaw in doing so. I mean, we are in the retail overlay district that is limited to 2 areas of town. And marijuana establishments can go in industrial B and A, all the others, but we are limited to that overlay that we're within at 160 A Road for retail. So we have to provide a formal.
Let's pause on that for a second. Do we have to vote on a waiver?
We don't have to vote on a waiver tonight. No, we do not. Okay.
So we'll
want to wait for.
We're going to basically backlog the request. We're going to backlog the consideration for a waiver and continue the hearing. That's the decision, right?
Correct. You want everybody here. We'll wait till Jeff's here. We'll get a letter from town council. The two councils will straighten it out. We'll have it back to us for the December.
We'll decide that when Jeff's
back. Correct. Okay.
That's all I wanted to clear up. Just
okay.
That's how.
Anna, are you good with that?
I think that's appropriate action.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Sorry for interrupting. You may continue now.
Thank you, Mr.
I have no more bombs to drop. That's it.
I appreciate you bringing that up. That's very important, and we will get it resolved. I have no doubt. And I think again, it doesn't derogate from the intent of your bylaw in making that waiver. So we are in the overlay for retail. We need the special permits, as Maren had quoted from the outset of the hearing process and reading the notice. Existing unit, parking is adequate and ample in our opinion. No changes since the last application that came through. Common area parking at this point in time. We've done our informal. Christine has received her provisional license in October from the CCC, and her application should move quicker than most, given it's a woman-owned business, and the CCC processes those quicker. So we would like to move forward and give the detail for our application. And whether it's this evening or at the next hearing, we could approach perhaps the findings and conditions that certainly the crux of the decision. I don't think we're in a position after tonight to go ahead with any type of draft, especially given what we've already discussed. So with that said, as I said, Christine would like Bruce to give an overview of the site plan. We don't think the Aquifer Protection Water Resource Special Permit is applicable, but if something comes up that we're not aware of, then we could certainly discuss that further, but we have applied for that just to be thorough. And then Christine would certainly like to go over everything she's prepared quite thoroughly, 145-page presentation and letters of support and inspection already by police, fire, and building department. Other than minor fit out, no load-bearing walls being changed, no structural changes to the building. So unless you have anything else for me at this point in time, I'd like just Bruce to go over the site plan, parking requirements, and if I may.
Bruce, before you start, and Christine, can we? It's 10 minutes. It's 5 minutes of 9.
I want you to know that I don't have a presentation. It's going to be like 30 seconds. I don't plan to give you an exhaustive.
All right.
Yeah. So I'm just here to answer questions. You guys.
Okay. All right. Just.
Let Bruce go ahead.
I'm real curious about the parking. I'll be honest with you.
So let's get on it.
All right. Well, let's let Bruce start. Well, why don't we try to hit the high points for about 25, 30 minutes? Will that work for everybody? 9:30, good
Let's
to start.
go. I'm ready.
9:30.
Is that 9:15, Jerry?
9:15.
9:15. All right, you got 25 minutes.
Go
Okay.
fast, Bruce.
Go,
All right.
Bruce.
Good evening, Bruce Ringwald, GPR, on behalf of Littleton Apothecary. The site at 160 Air Road, as you all know, the site is there. The parking is there. We proposed a restriping of the parking lot. Very similar plan to that which you saw when we were in here for G7. There has been some discussion from the Littleton Committee for Handicap Accessibility. We've provided a van accessible spot in front of units 3 and 4, which are units for G7 and Littleton Apothecary, with 2 spaces either side. Either one of them could be van. And we have 2 handicap spaces in front of Cherry Stone Furniture. Because we have 66 parking spaces, 3 handicap spaces are required, and we're providing 4, so we have an additional space. The parking is laid out very much the same as it was for G7. We have proposed posted signs for deliveries employees only, for the access around behind the building and for the rear access to the back of the building. This would be employee parking back here, the loading for the various different facilities. There are a couple loading docks in here that exist, and others that have been closed off and are no longer used as loading docks. We have reserved spaces in the back for security and for employees from Littleton Apothecary. We have a proposed generator location in the rear of the site. The site is well lit all around the building with downlights at every entrance and floodlights on the back, and both sides and the front, as well as street lights across the front with a floodlight on this utility pole that lights up the area, and 2 parking lot lights out in the outer portion of the parking lot that shield and direct lighting back to the rear of the site. The property in question here has about 1,600 square feet of, a little over 1,600 square feet of retail space. We're at 1 space per 150, works out to 11 spaces. And then it has office and storage, vault, and employee space in the rear, which works out at 1 space for 250. So a total of 18 spaces required under the zoning bylaw. For the whole property, there's a total of 51 spaces required under the zoning bylaw. And again, with 3 handicap, we're providing 66 spaces total, 4 of which are handicap and 3 loading spaces. The building meets all of the required setbacks. And again, it's an existing facility. We are not doing any new impervious areas. We're just restriping the areas in question. And that, in a nutshell, is it. Where there's no changes to the site. And as Jim pointed out, we have very limited need, in our opinion, for any changes relative to the Aquifer and Overlay District. Again, we expect the standard condition to be there that if and when Littleton Light and Water requires or feels necessary, the property owner and or the applicants will be responsible for the installation of wells as requested.
Is that it?
That's it.
All right, I have a couple of questions. Let's get, since we're dealing with parking, how many spaces does Cherry Stones have?
So Cherry Stone Furniture has, we all share the entire parking space. I'm working with Jack and Vahe right now to buy them some of those nice signs that say parking for Cherry Stone Furniture only. They said they want 5.
Well, no, they might want them.
Whoa, wait a minute.
They said they want 5 of those signs.
Oh, well,
how many spaces are left for the 2 businesses, the 2 marijuana operations, after you back out Cherry Stone?
Right. How many spaces does Cherry Stones need for their square footage, Bruce?
Based upon their square footage, they have retail space and storeroom space, 21 spaces. They currently use about 3 or 4.
But you need 21 spaces for that building, for that part
for those uses under the zoning bylaw, as your bylaw lays out the spaces. So the spaces are there and they're available for them to use. But all the spaces on the site are shared spaces.
No.
Oh,
No, so they have 21 spaces. How about Touch Up Perfect Productions? How many spaces do they need by their square footage?
By their square footage for office use, for their 2 units, it's 4 units for each, a total of 8 spaces.
So 21, then we have 8. And how about Stargazer's Creative Buildings?
No, that was the 2 units, sir.
1 and 2 are combined, I think.
There's
Just like-
4 on each of them, a total of 8.
Okay. And how about G7? How many did we allocate for G7?
G7, we allocated 4 spaces.
4 spaces. Okay, so 21 and 12 is 32.
You're at 38.
What?
36.
21 and 12. No, 33.
No.
21 and 12. 4, and 8.
And there's
Okay, so yeah, there's 32 spaces. Now, if we look at the front of the building, you only have 20, 40, 50 spaces realistically for the front of the building. Nobody.
51, that's correct.
So how many spaces do you think you need for yours?
So the total number of spaces required for any business includes employee parking and parking for the public, if I'm correct. My understanding is that, there's a certain number required for each type of use. So
Yours is purely retail. How many parking spaces do you need purely for retail?
Purely for her space, by the zoning bylaw, it is 18 spaces for her space. 11 under the retail and 7 under the back of the house.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if 11 is a realistic number given the.
It's what the bylaw says.
It's a realistic number by the bylaw.
Well, hope I lost it.
It's 18 spaces for that 150. What did you say? 150 square feet.
150, 1 for 150 square feet.
1 per 150, and your bay is what?
Her bay is divided in half, whereby half of it is the retail area and half of it is back of the house.
Well, yeah, but it's still retail space, Bruce. It's not.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is. It's rentable retail space, the whole piece. You take out bathrooms and hallways. That's about all you take out when you're looking at retail space. I don't see an office back there.
There is an office back
there. There's probably a small little office, but.
If I may.
And the balance of it is.
If I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the back, I sent Maren a sketch of the interior of the space with the back sort of redacted so you can't see what's going on because there's a security concern in sharing that publicly. Chief Plnbrd has it. The back, more than half of the space it's storage, and it's fancy storage. There's the little skinny office in the back, you're correct. And the big middle section is storage. There's a server room and for the security people, and it's fancy storage space that the front of the house, and it's access controlled with security measures that would never allow any retail customers back there ever. So that is very much a storage area. So the front of the house is small enough to, it's big enough to have my customers inside if we get through COVID, but it's small. It's not 3,000 square feet of retail space, and no one will be able to get into that back shop.
What does the bylaw say for parking? Where's the bylaw?
60. She's got 6,400 square feet of retail space.
No.
That's
half.
Yes, you do. Excuse me. Oh, yeah, half of it. 32. Excuse me.
And she doesn't even have.
I was in G7. 3250.
The bylaws talks about
She needs 21 spaces.
The leasable floor area of retail space.
Yeah, leasable floor area. That's the whole thing. 6,400 square feet is leasable. Cherry Stone needs
30
43.
33.
Cherry Stone needs 43 spaces. You need 21. G7 needs 21. They all need 21.
Cherry
I mean,
Stone does their actual their actual furniture making there, Mark. It is not all a retail space.
It's all retail rentable space. The whole thing is. You go by
So
the
the
square
answer is-
footage.
Yes, but you go by what the use is, and the use is not that. Just like the use of Touchstone, Mark Promotions, and Stargazer is office. So you use the office calculation.
So you do one space per 250 for office. Okay.
Yeah.
Cherry Stone is retail. You're retail. You're a retail establishment. So
The-
is G7 Labs, a retail establishment. Okay,
There's-
all I'm trying to
G7
say
Labs
is,
is not a retail establishment.
Okay, so if it was a retail, I would need 22 spaces.
right.
But for if all 3,300 square feet were considered retail, I would need 22 spaces.
Right.
That's for the 150 per.
And we were at 38 before, so 38 and 22.
Well, I don't know how you got to 38. Cherry Stone needs 43 spaces.
You have to allocate those parking spaces for each tenant.
What?
Yeah.
You have to be able to look at all the requirements for each tenant and say what is left over for your use. That's, I mean, you should be able to mark your spaces and say, this is my count. This is what's allocated to my space, and do it on the plan. I mean, I don't want to have a back and forth on this. You should really mark the plan to say what are your spaces.
So to get to the solution part of that, if we do allocate the 44 spaces for Cherry Stone, then 40 of them will be sitting empty during, and that's.
But it does. That's not the point. That the point is it's just like doing a density calculation for a housing plan.
I get it.
Just do the calculation. In practice, who knows? Maybe Cherry Stone doesn't use any of them, but that's not how the bylaw is written.
So according,
But the bylaw is written to allow for shared parking.
and according to
As long as you can accommodate the statutory minimum for each bay, then I think you're fine.
well,
Go ahead and delineate it for us so we can see it. I don't want to sit here and go back and forth.
okay, well, it's in the document that I sent you, the information about the ownership of the units and the number of parking spaces and how they're allocated. I'm just looking, I'm trying to scroll through and find it. It's in there. It's at the end in the parking.
I think you need to do it and put it on this actual plan is the way it needs to be done.
Yeah, we need to see it. We got to be able to say, yep, that's the number. It ties out. I mean, this should be a simple conversation.
Well, it should be a simple conversation, but I'm sorry, and excuse me for not for not knowing about this ahead of time.
Not on you.
Well, I think that the way that the condominium association has allocated the parking spaces is that they're shared spaces. And our, understanding was that we would be moving.
Well, unfortunately, we don't.
I understand that.
Share spaces unless you can demonstrate to us that one operation will be there at this hour and somebody will be at night. Then we could argue share space. All we want to make sure is that you're not taking all the spaces. And supposing Cherry Stones decides to open up a retail establishment where they're just selling furniture, and they're out the door, then there's no parking spaces. We're just trying to make sure that there's enough parking spaces there. And we all understand that you're putting this business in, and eventually once COVID goes away, you expect to be very busy. There, the stories we hear about lines out the door and everything else like that. We want to make sure there's parking for everybody.
I understand that, and I appreciate that.
If you look at Cage down the street, I mean, they got a full parking lot all day long.
No, they do not.
Wait, please, you guys, you gotta let me talk about my shop and about the deal. So the plan for parking and traffic mitigation is all in my host community agreement, and it's all under Chief Plnbrd's discretion.
No, excuse me. I'm not disputing that. I'm saying all you have to do to meet the standard is to show that you've got your parking.
Right, and Chief Plnbrd can
It has nothing to do with Chief Plnbrd. It has to do with us to make sure that you have enough parking spaces there to adequately address your clients coming in and going out,
Well,
and
that's
having a
one-
place
I'm
to
trying
park where they're not queued up
my
somewhere.
sentence about Chief Plnbrd having discretion over appointment only, which would handle all of these parking concerns. You know, so in my host community agreement, Chief Plnbrd the plan is to start with appointment only, and at his discretion, he will handle traffic mitigation, and he will decide when it's going to be and if it's going to be okay for me to leave the appointment only model.
Wait, just scroll down.
That's not for him to decide.
It's in the host.
It's not for him to decide. It has nothing to do with that. Can you scroll down? Scroll down to your table on the below.
I need to come up with another 44 parking spots someplace is what basically.
No. I'm not. I don't even know what the number is. I'm saying you're sharing a building, right? Every one of those tenants has to maintain a statutory amount of parking based on the bylaw.
Based on their use.
Based on their use. So you got to lay all that out and then do your calculation and say, based on my use and my square footage calculation, here's where I land.
So here's where we are. Unit 1, office, 4 spaces. Unit 2, office, 4 spaces. Unit 3, lab, 4 spaces. Unit 4, retail and office, I say 18. You're telling me 22 because you're saying it's all retail. Unit 5 and 6 is a retail warehouse and a storeroom. And it breaks down into these uses based upon what they've given me for the spaces and the amount of employees that they put in there for those uses. That breaks down to 21 spaces for them. That's based on the uses based upon the bylaw.
You're missing 3,900 square feet there. There's 6,400 square feet there in 5 and 6.
Because portion of that, the balance of that area is based on employees under the storeroom. And that's the way your bylaw goes.
Well, you don't have it there. You don't have the other amount of it. You have.
There's no sense in having an area there, Mark, if the calculation's based on employees. So
we're not basing it on employees, Bruce.
Yes,
We're
you are.
going by
That's what your regulations say.
Square footage.
No, it doesn't.
It's
you can request from us to look at employees, but if we're looking at it,
there's no reason to have a back and forth on this. What does the bylaw say? Where is it?
Bruce is telling you what the bylaw says.
No. Where is the bylaw?
What do you mean? Where is the bylaw?
It's our parking bylaw.
It's in the parking bylaw under Article 7, 173-32B. And when you come on down the list and you get to industrial warehouse, 1 space for 1.25 employees on the largest shift. It's not a request. It's what it says.
But we're not saying it's that. We're saying it's retail.
And I'm saying it's not all retail. According to Jack and in my discussions with him, they're making materials there. That's their largest shift. And that is relative to the space, and that he has roughly 3,900 square feet of retail, which is the more storage of his material out in the space. So I'm not trying to pull any wool over anybody's eyes. I went by the bylaw, went by the chart, went by the spaces, went by the information that I was provided for. Haven't gone in the space during COVID time to measure up and confirm it. I assume he's telling me the truth.
If I have been in the space, it's the storefront is in the very front, and then they have a little office and then a long skinny hallway with little rooms as a showroom. And then the majority of the space is like the air handling equipment for the sawdust and all the lumber and the machinery for the manufacturing of the furniture. So it's not all retail space, a fraction of it is. I'm sure Jack's calculations are correct. I can ask him to join the next meeting to explain.
Shouldn't the town have something on file that actually identifies how many parking spaces the Cherry Furniture Company should have?
Why?
Check that.
Why would they have anything on town for that, Anna?
I don't know. I was asking.
No, it's when you have an office building, an industrial building, whatever, it's permitted for the use once upon a time. And a zoning table of all the various setbacks for the building, the parking, the septic, et cetera, are all looked at. And then you get tenants that come and go. Cherry Stone's been there for a long time.
1983.
I think we
So
need
Mark
to
and
have,
Jerry, what do you want to see from this? What do you want to see the
That's-
applicant do?
I would like to see a calculation done as to how specifically Cherry Stones is what throws you out of the box.
I don't think it
I mean,
throws
all
you out
of them
of the
do,
box.
but I need to see what it looks like retail for a retail establishment to go in there, because you got to
Why?
remember, if Cherry Stone goes out and a restaurant goes in there, they need the space. They own that much space because they have that much square footage.
Well, I'm going to have to take a look, but I'm not certain that a restaurant's allowed in an
I'm just saying if a full-blown retail
So it
establishment.
could all be office too, and then it would only need 8 spaces.
It's not we
It
can't
could
go.
be, it's office
So
at the other end.
66, you want parking for retail, you want a retail parking calculation for 6,400 square feet for Cherry Stone, is that correct?
Or something close to it. If you can want to take out some office, give us a reasonable number that makes sense.
Do you want like measured?
Wait, let's back up. I mean, I'm just going through it right now. I think, Mark, I think they're right.
I think we
I'm
are.
reading it right now, and it even encouraged the applicant is encouraged to consider shared parking as a possible means of reducing total parking area subject to planning board approval. It gives you the schedule, but it does not tell the applicant how to delineate their space.
Thank you.
It's not prescriptive that way. It doesn't say that if you have a bay, a 6,200 square foot bay, and the front of your house is 1,600 square feet, and the back of your house is 1,600 square feet. It doesn't say you cannot delineate it that way.
100% in agreement. That's the way we do it.
That's what I'm saying. It's not prescriptive that way, Mark. So if the applicant's coming in,
We need to see that though. That's what we need to see on this plan.
You want to see this?
We
in the chart?
need to see what she needs for parking, what's there, what's allocated for everybody else, given what's there on the ground. Exactly.
It's right here on the
A
chart.
rough
Mark,
idea.
he's done that. That's what I'm saying. He's done that.
No, he hasn't. If you look at 5 and 6, he's got 3,900 square feet. It's 6,400 square feet.
Okay,
It's
so
not
I
39.
write in the lower box here where it says storeroom, the balance of the 6,900 square feet, but it is only calculated.
But
by
it's not a storeroom, Bruce. We don't put parking spaces in for storeroom. It's not a storeroom. It's retail space. Give us a
Mark.
number that's close.
It's
Mark, so one of the things that I would like to raise is when G7 was in front of us with some of the same folks sitting on this call right now, and this parking situation was raised at that point, we essentially determined that the shared parking was okay for G7. So help me understand why the shared parking isn't okay in this situation.
Because G7 can tell us that it's not a retail establishment. It's a laboratory. It's only got 5 employees or 8 employees. We can use that number. This is a retail establishment. We don't know how many people are going to own Christine's, and we don't know how many's in Cherry Stones. We just want a rough idea so that we're not approving something that has woefully not enough parking. They need to prove to us there's enough parking. That's all I'm saying.
okay.
So we go,
I can go to Jack and Cherry Stone, and I can get photos and drawings of his space, or you could visit to see. And we will also calculate I mean, it really is like a really cool wood shop, Mark, and worth a visit. But I can get all that information for you. I'll get it for you tomorrow. I mean, that's
Christine, it's more, I think the concern's more around, if we know the bylaw is not just about for what it is, it's for what it could be, right? There's six spaces on the site, right? You're allocating 1,600 square feet for retail. You get your 11 spaces. You got your 7 for office. So it right now it looks good on paper. If Cherry Stone was to change its use to full retail,
wouldn't they have to apply for?
But they're entitled to the
exactly. They'd have to come and apply. Now, what if they don't have enough spaces now?
Well,
They're shared. So,
You can't share them. You can't put two cars in one space. You can't share them.
okay, all right.
Well, the bylaw does allow for sharing.
It encourages sharing.
Encourages
That's
it.
what I'm saying. It says it right in the bylaw. It's up
Business
front.
at night and during the day. That's sharing. You can't have a retail establishment that works from 8 to 4:30 and say we can share the parking space. No, because they're all going to need them.
Well, and that's a good
Make sure
point.
you have the bare minimum to cover what you think you're going to need.
All right.
Put it on a plan.
Okay. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about?
Other than the parking, I think the only thing would be maybe. Honestly, other than that, I don't have any other issues.
I think security, but it's too late to get into security. Let's deal with that in the next meeting.
Well, but again, if you want to talk about security, what do you specifically want to talk about for security? Like,
we want to talk about how people are going to come, what's their security procedure.
I can tell you.
No, but Mike, they have gone through this ad nauseum with the security, and I'm reading that part of it right now, and they have to go through that entire checklist just to even get considered.
I get that. So we need it on a public. We need to have it in public.
I can tell you, I have 2 minutes left. If you guys will let me talk, I can explain the security to you in 2 minutes.
Go ahead.
Every square inch of that shop is required by Cannabis Control Commission regulations to be on camera. Every square inch, 24/7, 365, and it's monitored off-site by 2 independent security companies and monitored on-site by human security guards in our security office. Recordings are stored and available upon request to emergency personnel in Littleton. We will have, I have hired a human security firm, and I can have anywhere from 1 to 50 security guards upon request immediately at the outset. We're just going to throw human beings at it. So we'll have security officers walking around outside, and they don't look like cops, but they are clearly identifiable as security. We have a glass vestibule that is access controlled with electronic security, key card access, a man trap vestibule that with a human security guard outside checking IDs, allowing the person in with electronic access where their ID is checked again, and then they're let into, and we have IntelliCheck scanners that verify any fake IDs or any expired IDs or anything. And then they come in, they show their ID at the counter, we usher them out. We have access control on every single door. I can control with my smartphone in real time who has access to what space, and everything is clearly marked as employee only, limited access areas, and the customer space is in the front. There's also a disaster plan that involves shelter in place. We're going to be trained by LPD for Alice active shooter training and other trainings. And we're also going to have very extensive training from my security firm. We have panic buttons. Chief Plnbrd can log into my security system and look at the cameras whenever he wants with his own smartphone. Our security systems exceed by millions of miles the requirements of the Cannabis Control Commission. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, I got the section up now. I mean, they have an extensive security discussion here. Who's the governing authority on security verification?
The governing authority is the state.
Yes.
And it's, like they have to have a valid government issue ID. There's also really extensive state requirements for anti-loitering. And so the human security will be enforcing that.
By the way, can I make a comment on your application?
Sure.
You've got redacted sections posted on our website. They're redacted.
Yep.
Why are they redacted?
They're on because it would pose a risk to public safety if I shared that information in a public document. Chief Plnbrd has all of that information, every single bit of it, as well as interior floor plans that show camera locations, and all of the access control systems. It's a fortress, and I mean, it's a fortress. And he has indicated in his letter the things that he does not want me to share with the public because because it's the keys to the kingdom, and we don't want.
Does he have a letter stating all that?
Yes, he does. There's a letter in here. I told him I
I'm
was
trying to find it. I mean, at least yours is, by the way, thank you. This one's searchable, so this is great.
There's a table of contents on page 2, Jerry, and it should have it.
No, I got him. I found him already.
Okay, so we're past what we needed to do, so we got our security. So why don't we continue this, Maren,
November 12th, please.
Before we
No,
cut off,
we're not doing
I do have a request. So one of the things that I had requested of CCC, the applicant prior to this, and I want to make sure to have it in yours as well, Christine, is as you remember, when we went through the marijuana task force group, one of the things that we had asked about was the local ownership of the retail facility. CCC, and I'm asking you as well, that you need to make sure that you've updated any kind of a copy of operating agreement or articles of the organization that list all of your investors and their percentages. So
It's all in there.
I looked and I didn't see it, so maybe you can point it to
So
me.
I'm the 100% sole owner, and there's a promissory note in there that should be an indicator. I own 100% of Littleton Apothecary, period. And yeah, that's all there is to it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I will look for the loan document. I just didn't see it.
You're looking for articles of incorporation. Are they?
They're in there. And they show me as the sole owner and agent of Littleton Apothecary. And the Cannabis Control Commission, I don't know. I've filled out a lot of 200-page applications. I know, yeah, if, you know what?
Page 96. If you're looking for that, it's on page 96. Bernard's letter's on page 60. It's all there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I just want to make sure that it was in there.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So continuing till December 3rd, Maren?
And can I just ask a quick question?
What time would you like to do this one?
6:30?
6:30, yeah. Dream on. Maren, well, you want to put them on at 7?
Well, I've got 3 new applications, so it makes that kind of difficult. Yeah, we'll work around that.
And
Okay.
so if I'm correct, you're looking for the parking for our next meeting. Is there anything else that you're looking for?
That's all I wanted to see. Other than that, I mean,
And we'll go ahead with that formal request, just for the formality purposes for the file on the distancing waiver between the co-location. I see no harm done with that. I think you could have granted it with or without that formal request, but we'll get it on record with Maren, and perhaps Board Member Yates can familiarize himself with the minutes and sign the certification for the next meeting.
Yeah, he's prepared to do that. Mark, I would just recommend that before you continue the hearing, you ask for any public input. I don't see any raised hands, but we haven't
that's true.
allowed that opportunity.
All right. Is there anybody with their hands raised, Maren? Nope. Okay,
Yeah,
great.
We've heard of no opposition to this, Mr. Chairman, or negative press in any way in what we're pursuing here.
the only thing I would encourage you to take a little look at what Bernard's letter says. I don't know how I feel about. A lot of that says a lot of it's at his discretion.
The host community agreement is like the first step in the multi-year process. And the town basically can ask for whatever they want.
No, I'm saying if you read
Yeah, the letter from
Bernard's letter, you've given him a lot of discretion.
Yeah, I am.
As long as you're cool with that.
I mean, the fact is, nobody loves Littleton more than I do. I want
All right.
I feel like
On that note, we'll continue this till
I want to do what works out for everyone. I think it's best to give the cops some control.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So December 3rd, 7 o'clock.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Martin, do we have any other business or can we adjourn?
No, so did you take a vote on the continuation?
Oh, yeah, I'll entertain a motion to continue the Littleton Apothecary till December 3rd at 7 o'clock. Anyone want to second that?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Anna?
Yes.
Jerry?
Aye.
Yeah, but I'm a yes. Okay, great. Okay.
Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Mara, do we have anything else or can we adjourn?
We're good. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
We're good.
Aye.
All right, I make a motion that we adjourn till the 12th of November at 6:30 for the Hager Homestead and a few other little minor things.
Good,
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, all.
Good night.